basically thinking about Prince Joseph, which I think about cancer all the time. It's the Daily Mail. Experts discover people with tattoos have double the risk of deadly cancers. The larger the tattoo, the greater the danger. That's like saying the more you smoke, the more cancer you're going to get. Of course it's that way. I don't know why that's in the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail is the headlines. They need a new headline guy. Anyway, we do not know what causes the relationship between
Well,
whether it's a causal between...
Have you ever heard of this before,
Can I
though?
finish what I'm saying?
Please.
No one's interested in you, Josh.
No, they're just interested in the story, I think.
Yeah. Well, no, they're not interested. They're interested in Louis Schaefer. They're interested in how did this poor guy get this to this country? It is flailing so much.
Okay.
It could be a correlation or an association or a risk or a link of, is that people who have tattoos maybe drink more, maybe smoke more, maybe stay up late more. There's lots of bad things that they do, which is related, get fat.
Do you regret getting the tattoo of my face on your chest?
I regret it because I thought you were a good guy when I met you, when I first came. I thought, he's doing an imitation of Woody Allen. And then I realized, like 30 years later?
But it was the off-screen Woody Allen behaviour, not the comedy. That was the problem.
Not the on-screen. The truth is, if you want to cure cancer, you fast and you go on a low-carb diet.
And maybe don't get a tattoo. Let's do the final story then, Nick. Yeah. So this is comedians blasted for performing when someone was dying, but not themselves, of course, I guess.
Yeah, comedians blasted for continuing to perform. This was Melbourne Comedy Festival, and they carried on performing even though someone was having a defibrillator and very much struggling in the crowd. Now, I'm not sure they knew about it, but it is the kind of thing comedians would do because they're callous, selfish, awful people.
Well, you want to get those laughs, right? The ego is more important.
Right. You're at the festival, you're like,
dying.
this took me ages to get this gig.
Yeah.
Not just that, stage time is good. Stage time is hard to find. They got an audience there. But the point is, I don't believe this story because there's not a single person's name in it. Is there a single person? There's no
I know.
names.
Well, I bet it's people that we know who would do this. I was at a club where someone
Maybe
died
they were told to do it. They were told by keep on going. Otherwise, there might be a riot. People might impede the ambulance service.
Lewis has died on stage many times. I'm sorry.
I don't believe this. Even in Australia, I don't believe
well,
this.
show is nearly over. Let's take another quick look at tomorrow's front page. Daily Mail. Charles is forced to cancel full day of visits. The Metro coalition course. The Express. King suffers bump in the road during cancer care. The Eye. UK sends military chiefs to Kyiv. Guardian fears Reeves may be forced to into further tax increases. And Telegraph, King and hostile for cancer side effects. That's it for tonight's show. Thank you very much to my guests, Lewis, Willie eating Schaefer there, and Nick Dixon. Oh, well, one leads into the other. Leo Kurse, he's going to be back here tomorrow, 11 p.m, with Nick and Jonathan Cogan. And if you're watching 5 a.m. repeat, then stay tuned for breakfast.
I think that's an anti-gay. It's an anti-gay comment.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A brief spell of more unsettled weather to come over the next couple of days before the fine weather returns from Sunday. Rain moves through, followed by showers, and it's going to feel cooler, although with some sunny spells in between the downpours. Now, the rain I mentioned, that's being driven by this cold front, which is sinking southeast across the UK as we speak. It's going to arrive into the north and west of England as well as Wales during the evening, and then spread into the Midlands, East Anglia and southern counties of England by dawn. So a cloudy and wet start for many across the south first thing Friday. Brighter skies are spreading southeast in the wake of that front, and across much of the Midlands, the southwest of England and Wales will see those sunny spells return by 7 or 8 a.m. But the rain will take a bit longer to clear from East Anglia and the southeast. Showers, though, quickly following, and those showers would be particularly lively across western Scotland with the chance of hail and thunder, hill snow as well, because this air is a lot colder compared with the air that preceded the front. And we'll also see those showers to merge to give longer spells of rain across western Scotland, along with a gusty wind. All in all, it's going to feel disappointing in the northwest. But once the rain clears the southeast, after lunch, well, plenty of sunshine returns and showers will be few and far between across the south and southeast. 14 or 15 Celsius in the southeast, feeling a little cooler. Not feeling quite as cold, though, as it will in the far northwest. It's a bright start for all of us on Saturday, and it stays that way across the Midlands, the south, east, and some southern counties of England throughout the day. But elsewhere, we'll see a band of rain moving in, again followed by some showers, but gradually through Sunday and Monday, high pressure returns, bringing a return to fine weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good morning. The King returns to hospital.
King Charles is recovering at Clarence House after briefly returning to hospital after suffering an adverse reaction to his cancer treatment.
He's now been discharged, but his engagements today have been cancelled.
A source close to the King says it was a precautionary measure and described the episode as a most minor bump in the road.
The Prime Minister has co-hosted another Coalition of the Willing summit in Paris with plans for a reassurance force in Ukraine announced amongst the allies.
And we agreed here in Paris today that it's clear the Russians are filibustering. They are playing games and they're playing for time. It is a classic from the Putin playbook.
The government opens a new £100 million prison to tackle overcrowding, the size of 39 football pitches and a capacity of 1,500 spaces. We're asking this morning, is it enough to reduce crime levels?
Britain's pothole crisis continues, the PM giving councils an ultimatum: fix them or lose funding. JCB, though, are slamming what you call the patch and run approach.
6 people have tragically died after a tourist submarine sinks in the Red Sea off the coast of Egypt.
Just Stop Oil have announced the end of their campaign of civil resistance after 3 years of chaos and disruption, as Ed Miliband has made their main demands a government policy.
The first ever edible soap has been created to highlight hygiene poverty in the UK, where a number of people are forced to choose between food and toiletries. We'll be trying some of this edible soap later on.
Are we eating it?
We are.
Are we going to do that? In the sport this morning, Chelsea do to Manchester City exactly what Arsenal did to Real Madrid by coming back from 2-0 down to win 3-0 at home and head into the semi-finals of the Women's Champions League. Max Verstappen likes an Instagram post saying Red Bull bullied SAC driver Liam Lawson, and there are 2 Kylian Mbappes. So could Spurs have one of those, please?
Hello, good morning. Quite a wet start across the southeast, but brightening up later. Plenty of showers in the north, though, and maybe even a risk of snow. Stay tuned and I'll have all the details.
Just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. I'll move this off the desk.
Yes, please.
So I heard the most
Cup of tea
fascinating...
with a pipe sticking out of it.
I heard the most fascinating story this morning. So apparently, since the rise of cashless payments, you know, people just going tap, tap with their phone or their cards, fewer children are sticking coins up their nose.
Sorry?
What?
Or swallowing coins by accident. Apparently it's down by a third or something, children that are presenting to hospital having coins...
Which weird children were putting coins up their nose?
Has that ever happened?
Children are always sticking things up their nose.
Are they?
Yes.
What, so
Are they?
I used to do it with crayons all the time.
What?
Did you?
Yeah. Is this a weird thing?
Yes.
No, children are always doing stuff like that.
So there's less kids putting coins up their nose?
Up their nose, yeah, and presenting to hospital.
Hallelujah.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember putting anything on my nose.
See,
apart from the occasional finger.
Well, obviously, yes. With the old halfpenny, would probably go up quite nicely. But if you're going to try and shove a 50p up your nose, you're going to have trouble, surely.
I can't be alone in this. Honestly, if you're watching this morning, I'm not alone. I'm telling you, gbnews.com/you'll say it's a thing. Right, here's
you
the
made
story.
this up?
I found it now. Look, this is a new analysis. Far fewer children are needing hospital procedures now to remove objects from their throats, noses and airways, down to a cashless society. There's a drop in children swallowing coins.
What's going on with these weird children?
So 2012 are when cashless payments started to gain in popularity. So between 2012 and 2022, a 29% drop in cases.
Well, thank goodness.
What, from 10 to 6 or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, very young.
There's been a huge rise in people shoving credit cards up their nose, though. It's not that's been happening instead.
Babies up to the age of 14 is what we're talking about here. But apparently, coins had been implicated more than 75% of swallowed foreign bodies in children under 6.
Sorry, babies up to the age of 14.
Yes.
So 14-year-olds were stuffing coins up their cavities.
I found a bead in my ear once.
A bead?
A bead.
A bead. Shall I tell you the story? Have you got time, or shall I hold on to this?
Hold on to it.
Because, my goodness, this is
Well,
make
stay
your
tuned
eyes
for that.
water and your toes curl.
Yeah, all right, we'll brace ourselves.
I think we should.
Later on.
Yeah.
You want to stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss it.
Oh, yes, the bead in the ear story.
Talking of medical matters, the King has been in hospital after he suffered an adverse reaction to his cancer treatment.
Well, he's now been discharged, thankfully, but his engagements today in Birmingham have been cancelled.
Well, the statement from the palace said following scheduled and ongoing medical treatment for cancer, the King experienced temporary side effects that required a short period of observation in hospital. His Majesty's afternoon engagements were therefore postponed. He's returned to Clarence House and, as a precautionary measure, acting on medical advice, tomorrow's diary will be rescheduled.
Well, joining us now is royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams. Good to see you this morning, Richard. And Buckingham Palace are clearly trying to downplay the severity of this episode, but it is very worrying news.
Oh, undoubtedly, there's no question about that, because it's being billed as something of a glitch on a road that has been pretty positive. But from the layman's point of view, looking possibly for an explanation of this, as we know, cancer was diagnosed last February and he resumed public engagements in April. Well, I mean, he carried out last year 372 engagements. Only Princess Anne did more, and 43 of those were abroad, where his treatment was temporarily paused for the Australian and Samoan trip with the Commonwealth Summit. So, I mean, there's no question that as a workaholic, and we are so lucky to have someone so dedicated, I mean, he has undoubtedly had an extraordinary schedule. And if you add to that the pressure of geopolitical events, the planning, a lot has gone into this, and there'll be a great deal more of President Trump's intended second state visit. And then on top of that, the fact that he's head of state of 14 countries, and Australia and Canada have just called elections, and he's been sending messages of support to Canada, and of course, for example, receiving President Zelensky at Sandringham recently. I mean, this is a very, very pressurised job.
Do we look at this, though, Richard, as worrying as it is, and what a busy man, as you point out, is this just an abundance of caution?
Yes, I would suggest probably. I mean, it perhaps is no surprise that treatment can have side effects, because if you consider that he's continuing treatment for cancer and carrying out, of course, his duties with his red boxes, audiences with the Prime Minister, the receptions and so forth. And let's forget his enthusiasms, for example, the environment. It's not just a question of a full schedule, but also, I mean, one bears in mind that Queen Camilla, I'm sure, is helping to slow him down. But nonetheless, it is clearly something that the palace will wish to play down, but hopefully just the blip that the reports indicate. On the other hand, I mean, things are not going to get a great deal easier, but perhaps his doctors may suggest some form of alteration in the future as he putting royal programs together in these circumstances is far from easy.
OK, Richard Fitzwilliams, good to see you this morning. Let's hope His Majesty gets better very, very soon. Thank you.
Of course, a lot of this treatment is quite, as anyone who's had cancer will know, it's quite unpleasant.
Yeah.
So the fact he's had some side effects and felt a little bit unwell as a result can't be a great surprise, really. And as I say, I just think they're being very, very cautious, very, very careful with him, and just giving him a little bit of time to recover. Because to be that age and to have been through what he's been through and the amount of work he does, it's non-stop.
Well, it's a reminder of that as well. He's a man in his 70s, a very hard-working man in his 70s, who is battling cancer. And it would be easy to forget that, because he is always out and about meeting people, always in great spirits, always working so hard. I mean, apparently he was even working and taking calls last night, so he doesn't stop. But he is battling cancer, and he does need to take that time. So we wish him well.
Of course we do.
He's watching this morning.
Of course we do. And well, what else would he be watching first thing in the morning? Now, it is 9 minutes past 6. The Prime Minister has hosted another Coalition of the Willing summit, this time in Paris, alongside the French President Emmanuel Macron.
Well, plans for a reassurance force in Ukraine have been announced, though some EU nations have disagreed with the idea of armed forces being deployed.
Well, here's what Sir Keir Starmer had to say after the meeting.
And we agreed here in Paris today that it's clear the Russians are filibustering. They are playing games and they're playing for time. It is a classic from the Putin playbook. This is Europe mobilizing together behind the peace process on a scale that we haven't seen for decades. Backed by partners from around the world, we are determined to deliver a just and lasting peace, because we know that it is vital for Ukraine and Europe as a whole. And I am clear that it's also vital for Britain.
Well, let's get the thoughts now. Political commentator Theo Usherwood, who joins us now. Good to see you,
Very good,
Theo. And does this mean anything without US backing?
Well, Keir Starmer is adamant that we have to have US backing. And then the French President, Emmanuel Macron, he's not so sure. He thinks that we may have to, the coalition of the willing may have to go it alone with this reassurance force. And
that's what Trump wants, isn't it? He wants us to go it alone.
Well, I think what Donald Trump wants is for Europe to spend more money on its defence, but what he doesn't want is for the peace deal that he strikes with Russia to be jeopardised, because, of course, Vladimir Putin has been very clear that there cannot be any troops operating as a peacekeeping force or otherwise under any flag NATO country or otherwise in Ukraine post a deal. And, of course, the fear from Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, and his officials is that if the peace deal, isn't defended by Europe and America, then Putin will ride roughshod over it.
Where are we in terms of what... I mean, we were talking to Bill Browder, the analyst, yesterday, who, to be fair, knows his stuff, and he was saying, look, there is no deal here. Yeah. There's nothing from Putin. Putin's laughing at Trump, who's saying, oh, it's all going to happen. Putin's no intention of doing anything.
Well, and that's Bill Browder makes a very good point. I think there is a fear that certainly Putin is playing for time, because he thinks that the longer he can draw out the war in Ukraine, the further gains he can make, and then when a final decision has to be made, then he will be able to capitalise on those gains. But Europe is not united. There isn't even an agreement about putting troops or military forces into Ukraine or to support Ukraine from afar. Germany is very reticent about it. Italy has some, Giorgia Meloni, the Italian Prime Minister, has some serious concerns, isn't keen on the idea. So Europe is splintered, and at the same time, there are these negotiations that continue to take place between the Americans and Russians, particularly over the carving up of natural resources. And it feels increasingly as though Ukraine and its European allies are being frozen out.
Yeah. And on that point, I mean, President Trump telling Ukraine to hand over more of its minerals, oil and gas reserves, and also this $100 billion compensation package. Tell us a bit more about
yes, I mean,
the goalposts keep changing.
Yes, and from... The Ukrainians think it's grossly unfair, but in effect what you're going to have is Trump saying the price of American support up until this date, military support, is $100 billion. They're thinking of creating a joint investment fund which will be managed by 5 individuals, but Washington will get to appoint 3 of those individuals. So, of course, they'll have a majority over the management of it, plus charging the Ukrainians interest of 4% a year. So, ultimately, from Ukraine's point of view, they're looking at this and thinking it is not a fair deal.
It sounds very opportunistic.
But that's Trump all over, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but is that right? I mean, but also, is Europe going to stand by and let him do it, or are they going to try and stop it? Or,
I don't think Europe at the moment has much of a choice. The one thing, if you're trying to be fair to Donald Trump, what has he done? He's managed to at least get Putin to some sort of negotiating position. OK, Putin, it's fair to say that Putin is thumbing his nose at Trump, but at least there is now a conversation about peace in Ukraine and bringing this war to an end. But also Trump is playing to a domestic audience here. There has been long-running concern that, he tapped into during his successful election campaign to be president, that American the American public doesn't want to see forces, it's young men and women coming home in body bags. It doesn't want to see what Trump calls these forever wars. And what Trump wants is he wants to be able to say that he's brought peace, but he's also brought, playing to the domestic audience, he's put America first. That's his mandate. And that's why he was so successful in the election. And what he's continued since his inauguration on January the 20th is to always have in mind what is in America's interest. Now, this deal is in America's interest, but of course there are grave concerns it's not in the interest of the Ukrainians.
OK. Theo, thank you very much indeed. We'll see you later.
Thank you. At 15 minutes past 6, let's take a look at some other stories coming into the newsroom this morning.
Well, Australians will head to the polls on the 3rd of May. Anthony Albanese kicking off a 5-week race for re-election. He's pitching his party's economic plans, including tax cuts and student debt relief, against the opposition leader Peter Dutton's promise to slash immigration and government spending. The opposition is targeting suburban voters hard hit by rising interest rates and prices.
The Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has opened a new prison that holds 1,500 people. Category C prison HMP Milksike, which is the size of 39 football pitches, is the latest step towards the government's target to create 14,000 extra prison places by 2031.
And the iconic high street DVD and VHS vendor Blockbuster is making a return. Well, sort of. 12 years since it went. There's a pop-up shop in London that's going to see a limited comeback. You can trawl through VHS cases, but there's no VHSs in them. They'll then just give you a streaming code. It's in collaboration with another brand. It's another brand, I can't remember, I saw it in the paper this morning. Kit Kat.
Oh.
Kit Kat. So basically you take an empty box and they'll give you a streaming code, so you just go home and stream it and you get a free Kit Kat. So it's just a...
What's the point of that?
It's just a gimmick to sell Kit Kats.
Oh, I see.
But, it's quite for those of us who remember going to Blockbuster.
It's a blast from the past. All that stuff's coming back, isn't it? Vinyls and VHS.
Right.
Don't miss VHS.
You don't want to watch a VHS nowadays.
We want good quality viewing, please.
Do.
Like us in the morning.
High definition. Right, let's have a look at the weather. Here's Anna.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers. Sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Into the weekend, there is going to be some rain at times, particularly on Saturday, feeling a little bit cooler too, but brighter and warmer by the time we reach Mother's Day on Sunday. Back to today, though, it's going to be quite a cloudy and wet start across parts of the southeast. Some rain lingering here for a time, but eventually clearing from around mid-morning and turning brighter behind this, but it's not going to be completely dry. Plenty of blustery showers moving their way into Scotland, Northern Ireland and northwestern parts of England, and at times skirting their way into central and southern parts too. Not going to be feeling quite as warm, but highs still reaching around 14 degrees across parts of the southeast. Then to finish off the day across Scotland, there's still going to be plenty of those showers moving through, heavy at times, perhaps some hail and thunder, and even bringing in some snow, particularly across the Scottish Highlands. So quite a wet end to the day and very breezy, particularly around western coasts. Fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northwestern parts of England still could see a few showers moving through, but most showers across Wales, central and southern parts should largely die away as we see a ridge of high pressure begin to build into the evening. Now, as that high pressure builds, that should kill off most of the showers across the country and it leads to clear skies, so things are going to turn a bit chillier, perhaps some rural slight frost in places and maybe even some mist and fog patches too. But there's still going to be quite a few showers feeding in across Shetland and Orkney and across western parts of Scotland. But for many, it's a largely dry night and feeling slightly chillier too. Now, through the course of the morning, if we do see any mist and fog, that should ease away fairly quickly, leading to a much brighter morning, particularly across central and southeastern parts. But across the west, parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, seeing quite a wet morning as another band of rain moves through. This could be quite heavy at times, and then starting to move into northern parts of England, Wales and Devon and Cornwall by the afternoon as well. And still very blustery across northern areas with some heavy showers and still on the cool side, highs once again only reaching around 14 degrees Celsius.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now we've got some very happy news for you to end the week. GB News Breakfast has been nominated for a Tric Award again, the third year in a row. We've won twice in a row, haven't we? So it'd be nice if we could go for the triple.
Yeah, do you think?
Victory would be golden. I can see the Tric Award over there.
You can. Yeah, no, I mean, look, how lovely. I just don't want to sound greedy.
Oh, I do.
Seems a bit greedy.
Please let us win for a third year in a row. If you would like to vote for us, we'd be very grateful.
I'm too soft-hearted. I feel sorry for all the others.
Oh, no, a hat-trick. You need to go for the hat-trick.
Oh, a hat-trick would be
Come on,
nice.
go for the glory. If you'd like to vote for us, you can scan the QR code on your screen now, or you can go to poll-tric.org.uk.
You just want it, because, look, there's poor me and Eamon stood in the background.
I see, I hate that photo of me. It's everywhere.
Honestly, frankly, we should be stood at the front.
Well, you should, frankly. I wouldn't mind.
There you go. She's barged away to the front and snuck away in the side.
I wasn't in charge of the photo.
It's been photoshopped.
Quite clearly.
As if we'd ever all stand together. It's photoshopped. Tric.org.uk. And our very own Charlie Peters has been nominated for the Best News Presenter category. So if you want to vote for him as well, it's the same QR code and same website, poll-tric.org.uk.
Yeah, we're very grateful for your support if you decide to vote for us and for Charlie Peters as well. Also some happy news. It's the final week to tell you how to win our massive spring giveaway. Grab a designer handbag.
Oh, lovely.
2 designer watches. Yep, Mulberry handbag, 2 designer watches, and an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash, precisely. So make sure you don't miss out. Here are the details that you need.
It's the final week to see how you could spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not 1, but 2 sought-after designer watches, so you can style it out this spring. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. 1 entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays, I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, as we observe Lent, we're bringing you daily reflections from ministers around the United Kingdom.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Hello, my name is Marjorie and I'm a minister in the north of England. In my line of work, I often get to be alongside people in the best of times, the parties, the celebrations, the weddings, the births, the baptisms and the breakthroughs. And equally at the hardest of times, the disappointments, maybe it's the job loss, the health scare, the breakdown in relationship or bereavements. Life has wonderful moments of joy, and also all of us at some point will go through difficult and dark times. As we read in Psalm 23, even though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, I will not be afraid, for you are close by me. It is not if I go through a valley, but when. The promise of God in this psalm is incredible, that the Lord is our shepherd. He leads us, He is with us, He comforts us. In our Western urban culture, there are so much noise all around us all of the time, constant notifications and different opinions. But Lent offers us the opportunity, if we take it, to pause, to dial down, to step back and to think. And throughout Lent, and indeed at Easter, we contemplate the fact that although in this world there is sickness, sadness and suffering, in Jesus Christ we have a God who came to earth and lived and suffered as a human, our suffering King. If you feel alone today, or you feel that no one sees you in your pain, the message throughout the whole Bible is that God sees our suffering and hears our cries, and ultimately will work for justice and mercy. Whether you are in a hard time or a happy time today, may you and I join with the psalmist with confidence and be able to say, surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life.
Now, there's been tragedy off Egypt's Red Sea coast. 6 Russians have died after a tourist submarine sank near the resort town of Hurghada.
Well, the submarine, called Sinbad, was reportedly carrying 45 passengers, including children, on a sea trip to the coral reefs.
Well, 45 tourists from Russia, India, Norway and Sweden were on board, along with 5 Egyptian crew members.
Well, we're joined now by Chairman of the Maritime Search and Rescue Council, Matthew Shank. Good to see you this morning, Matthew. And what do we understand happened here?
Good morning. At this time, we don't know. There's been conflicting reports that the vessel might have hit a submerged reef, but now we're seeing images of the submarine just below the surface, actually where it docks. So at this moment in time, we don't know. All we do know is that obviously there has been loss of life and that something seriously has gone wrong.
I mean, look, some reports this morning, it is worth pointing out, just saying the hatches weren't properly secured.
Yes, I did see that. Again, when we look at the photographs that we're seeing at the moment, one of the other reports that we're hearing is actually the vessel was alongside and the embarkation of guests was taking place. Now, obviously, at that point, the hatches would be open to allow them in. So that leads me to think that there may have been something else going on that's caused the vessel to sink, which has then allowed the water into the hatches.
6 months, isn't it? And this is a really popular tourist area, so there must be concern now about how safe it really is in terms of these sea excursions.
Yes, interestingly enough, last month the UK Marine Accident Investigation Branch issued a warning, that talks about the last 5 years. There's been 17 incidents involving tourist vessels, mostly dive vessels, but involving tourist vessels in the Red Sea. As you said, we look back to last year with the Sea Story, where there were British fatalities, and we look back to 2023. And the dive vessel fires there. So it leads me to question actually the safety standards that are being set by the Egyptian authorities, because this isn't just one or two events. There's two strands. You look at the fact that this is a submarine. It's a very specialist kind of vessel that requires very specialist safety measures compared to a normal vessel. But that's the responsibility of the Egyptian authorities, and you'd expect, given the amount of tourists there, that would be the #1 priority.
Oh, well, you'd expect that, sadly. Lots of questions remain to be answered about this one. Matthew, we appreciate your time today. Thanks very much indeed. You can see how appealing it is to go on something like that. You really can. I mean, it looks fascinating. However, would you want to risk... I mean, I don't know if I'd risk it. I don't know. You've got to be so careful with these sort of things.
Yeah, you do. And you definitely want to feel, with those two events in the past 6 months, you want to feel as though if you do go on these sorts of excursions, you are safe. And I'm not sure you can guarantee it, can you?
Well, not at the minute, it would seem. Anyway, we'll wait for the full investigation to be carried out, and then hopefully that will give us a bit more clarity. In the meantime, if you are travelling to work or school this morning, here's your traffic and travel update.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M90 in Perth and Kinross is blocked southbound by an accident at junction 10 south of Perth. In Essex, the A120 is blocked westbound by an accident near to Stansted Airport between Great Dunmow and junction 8 of the M11. In Kent, the A20 is partly blocked by an accident involving a car and a lorry at the Limekiln roundabout in Dover, causing delays. And Eurotunnel are reporting a wait of up to 3/4 of an hour for freight at Folkestone after an operational incident earlier. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Now do stay with us. Up next, Paul Coit will be here with all of your latest sports news.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
8:36, Paul's got the sport. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Yeah, all right.
Good. Shall we start with a bit of...
Chelsea, Man City?
Yes, Women's Champions League. See, this is interesting because Chelsea did to Manchester City exactly what Arsenal did to Real Madrid the night before. They were 2-0 down this is in the quarter-final of the Champions League, and then they get the game at home and they win 3-0 and manage to go through. So the second leg's at home. City look shell-shocked, as they've actually been quite good at in the men's team, actually, this season as well. And interestingly, you've got Chelsea and Man City have played each other 4 times on the bounce. In the League Cup final, Chelsea won. In the Women's Super League, Chelsea won. And then in the first leg of this game, Manchester City won. But it means nothing because Chelsea won the second leg. And now it's possible that there could be an all-English Champions League final. Arsenal are going to play Lyon in the first semi-final, and Chelsea will play Barcelona. So if they both win, it could be Arsenal-Chelsea in the final of the Champions League. It could be. It will be, but it could well be.
Now, the plot has thickened, has it not, in the F1 world?
Yes.
Red Bull.
Liam Lawson. So Liam Lawson is the 23-year-old that's been dropped by Red Bull after 2 races. So we spoke about this over the last couple of days. There were rumours that it was going to happen, and sure enough, it has happened yesterday. It was replaced by Yuki Tsunoda, the Japanese driver. Now, teammate Max Verstappen, who is the senior member, shall we say, of the two, there's Max on the right and there's Liam there on the left-hand side, liked an Instagram post. You know what? If you like something, does it make you guilty straight away? If you kind of, yes.
You know what you're doing. It's soft power, isn't it?
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly. You know, you're not just going to go, oh, yeah. You know when you're in a position like he is that you can do something and everybody will be watching everything you do. So anyway, former Dutch driver called Guido van der Garde, former Dutch driver and commentator these days, wrote on Instagram, closer to bullying or a panic move than actual high athlete achievements, referring to Red Bull and referring to Liam Lawson. So I just got a little like there from Max Verstappen. Christian Horner, the team principal, said it's a lack of Lawson's experience. But if that's the case, it's a lack of his experience. Why did you put him in the first place?
Yes, exactly.
Did you have any faith in him? Obviously not, whereas before he was saying how much potential he's got. So I don't think that Guido is far off the mark, that it does look like, we're going to panic a little bit. Maybe
it's interesting because if Horner is upsetting Verstappen, then who's going to win out of that one?
Well, exactly, because the thing is, last year with the problems that Horner had, and there was and then there was obviously the inquiry about somebody he was working with and what have you, and Verstappen was not too happy. So it seems like there might be no love lost between the two of them anyway. So who does have the power? And is Verstappen going to stick around?
Interesting.
Yeah.
You were talking Mbappe.
Yes, well, actually, before the Men's Champions League, Arsenal playing Real Madrid, and Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Junior and Antonio Rudiger and Dani Ceballos, who are all 4 of Real Madrid's finest players, could be banned from the game with Arsenal, which Arsenal would be great for Arsenal. Now, they've been charged with indecent conduct, behaviour after the penalty shootout. This is Real Madrid when they beat Atletico Madrid, so obviously it's a local derby. Mbappe made an indecent gesture, grabbing where he's his own. It wasn't someone else's, but grabbing and various... Yeah, I think you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
There's a bit of grabbing going on there. Rudiger, throat-slitting gesture to the fans, always a friendly gesture. Vinicius Junior provoked crowd with his own gesture, and Ceballos, another gesture to the crowd. Now, they're all red card offences. So if they look at it...
Bad?
Yeah, well, I don't think so. But, you know, I think it's all about inciting the opposing team and then the fans. So they are... But I tell you right now that there's no way that they will then be given red card offensive, called the red card, because Real Madrid are too important to the Champions League, as are those players.
Yeah.
So I doubt anything's going to happen. Finally, very briefly, Kylian Mbappe has had his Madame Tussauds waxwork done. Have a look. For those on radio, I'll just tell you this. They look exactly the same. But see if you can... There we are. Look.
Even the new boots?
Oh, no, that's very good.
That's me.
I can't believe it.
Does he want to get any closer to
The waxwork looks slightly taller than him.
I think it'll be on a plinth.
Oh, I see.
I think it's on a plinth.
Really, really fun.
There we are. And
that is very, very, very good.
Very, very
lifelike.
good. And he looks a bit spooked out by the whole
He's
thing.
getting awfully close to himself.
I was looking into...
he'll be getting another red card for that.
Well, it's interesting that the waxworks gesture is him crossing his arms, not grabbing any part of the wax, if you know what I'm saying. Hundreds of measurements. They measure the length of the eyebrows, the width of the nostrils. The body, by the way, is fiberglass, not wax. The head is wax. The rest is fiberglass. Real human hair.
It's amazing.
Real human hair. Hand-painted irises to make sure the eyes are right. Acrylic teeth. And there he is. Kylian Mbappe, exactly the same, and he looks pretty knocked out by that. I always feel sorry for people when they're removed from Madame Tussauds.
Yeah, that's rough.
You're on the turn when you're taken out of the museum.
Put your head in a cupboard, don't they?
Well, they do. They keep them all. They've got all their heads in, just waiting for your return, and then they'll come back out again.
Would you like to be in Madame Tussauds?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I'd like to be in it, but I think I'd be quite freaked out at seeing myself. You know?
I mean, that's very... I mean, they are the best in the world at what they do.
They
Look
are.
at that. Fantastic.
Yeah, very good. So Mbappe meets Mbappe. Very good.
In Madame Tussauds.
In Madame Tussauds.
Very nice.
Lovely. Paul, thank you.
Pleasure.
Now, do stay with us. We're going through the papers shortly. But first, if you're in search of some winter sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Unsettled weather across central parts of the Mediterranean with heavy showers and possibly some thunderstorms. But after all the rain across Spain and Portugal, turning much drier here and with plenty of prolonged blue skies too as the Azores highs stretches across Spain and Portugal. But as we move our way further east, heavy showers, some longer outbreaks of rain, and this could turn heavy with some hail and thunder. Now into next week, it's turning a little bit brighter, more sunshine around and feeling a little bit warmer too with the best of the temperatures across Tenerife.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Interesting research here, because on the one hand, it looks as though awareness of ADHD and the symptoms is rising because of TikTok and influencers promoting the symptoms of TikTok. But there's also research that suggests that usage of TikTok itself can cause ADHD. So how do we kind of untangle this?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? It's a double whammy, really, because I think, as you say, on the one hand, you've got this almost like social contagion of increased awareness of symptoms that either are ADHD or, as you have pinpointed, mimic ADHD. And we know that increased and excessive screen time, not just TikTok actually, but all social media time, mimics ADHD. Anyone that has a child and has witnessed their own child spending, obsessive time scrolling through social media or gaming and seeing what that does to a child, particularly, I think, young children's attention.
Yeah, my best friend, she was telling me, oh, yeah, I've known her since she was 4 years old. And she was chatting to me the other day and she goes, you know what? I've got ADHD. That's, well, if you've got it, I've got it. It's ridiculous. There are so many people saying they've got it. It's getting to epidemic proportions. Isn't it a bit ridiculous, all these people claim they've got it? What is it? What is it?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I completely agree. I think it is absolutely ridiculous. And I agree. I'm being tongue-in-cheek about TikTok. I do. My personal view is that TikTok is uniquely awful. I think it is absolutely mindless. Does anyone ever feel good after scrolling on TikTok? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there will be some people. So, I do accept these platforms are different for different people. I do think, though, we have to really ask, why is there this apparent explosion of ADHD and this rush for everyone to diagnose themselves?
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Time for the papers at 6:46 with our senior political commentator, Nigel Nelson, and his long-suffering wife, the political commentator, Claire Pearsall. So I know I do this every time, Nigel. It's really unfair on you.
What?
Actually, I think you probably suffer more than she
It goes
does.
over his head now. It goes over his head.
I think Claire likes to be called long-suffering.
Yeah, because I am.
Well, give
Come
over.
on,
You love it.
come on.
You love it. Claire, let's have a quick look at the King, 'cause it's on all the front pages.
Yeah, cancelling all of his appointments due to the cancer treatment that he's received and the side effects that have, I assume, made him feel particularly poorly. And I think anybody that's suffered from cancer and going through treatment will understand that. I think, people will have their comments about the King and say that he's living in a life of luxury, but cancer doesn't care if you're the King or person on the street.
No, and he
living in a
works very,
village.
very hard.
He does, and cancer affects everybody. And if this brings it more to the fore that you can have bad side effects, it is all right. You will get through it, as he's shown. Then more good can come of that.
Most of the time, he doesn't actually look like he's ill.
No.
I mean, when he's out there, whatever he's feeling like, he goes out there, does his job, and you wouldn't know. I mean, I think people are beginning to actually forget he had cancer until something like this comes up.
It's a reminder
that
he is a man in his 70s battling cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's serious.
Yeah.
And it should be taken so. Nigel, let's have a look at The Guardian, shall we? And fears that Rachel Reeves may be forced into further tax increases.
Yes, we've got 7 months of this speculation coming up after the spring statement. This was kicked off by the Institute for Fiscal Studies, saying that it's likely we'll end up getting more tax rises come the budget, which will be either October or November. The various targets you can go for. She could go for pensions. She could go for higher capital gains tax. What I wish she would look at is a wealth tax rather than hitting disabled people. And a wealth tax would mean that if But
the argument is that she's not hitting disabled people, really. She's hitting those people who actually should be out at work. Well, and those people who cannot work are protected.
Well, you won't be if you're losing the health the health element of universal credit. I mean, that's going to be cut by 50%. So if you needed, say, 400 quid a month out of that, you're going to end up with 200. And the other point there is that if you can get people back into work, that's great. And if this was really about reforming the welfare system, that'd be great too. But the first thing to do is then look at why these people are not working in the first place. Is Britain getting sicker? Is there something else going on?
Well, there's also those working people on benefits as well. There was a case study I saw yesterday, 41-year-old woman with autism who's complaining that she's really worried she might lose her benefits because she says she needs some money. She also works full-time. She's got a full-time, very good job. So why is she on benefits in the first place?
And I think that's a problem. You can understand that people with disabilities may need some extra assistance. I know somebody that is a tetraplegic. So he requires a wheelchair, a powered wheelchair, a specialised van, but he still gets up and goes about his business. But he may need some extra assistance, pay for extra electricity, he's got to have adaptations and all of those kind of things. You can understand that. But if somebody is going out to do a full day's work, you would wonder why the disability was such that you needed to claim disability benefit. If you are able to go out and work, then that should be celebrated. Absolutely brilliant. But I think where the Chancellor's going wrong, in my mind, is suggesting that everybody can go back to work whilst also then taxes coming in a week's time on businesses that are going to stop those businesses from taking on people. The increase in national insurance contributions, the minimum wage increase and dragging more people into the taxation system are going to stop businesses. To stop pulling a face, because it's going to stop businesses from taking on individuals.
But the whole thing is that during the election, she ruled out the major taxes, so income tax, VAT, employee national insurance.
Which was ridiculous.
Where does the money come from? The last big tax was employer national insurance, which gives about 20 to 25 billion.
But then if you're trying to get young people who are out of work into work and it's more expensive now to hire them, they're not going to be open to that risk.
No, I mean, Ellie, that's a fair point. But the whole thing is, if the money doesn't come from there, where does it come from?
So you want to suppress the jobs market just to bring in some money on a balance sheet, but you're going to decimate the hospitality sector, decimate the retail sector. You're going to put young people in a position where they cannot get a job. It doesn't matter how much education they have.
Where do you get your 20 billion, 25 billion pounds
There is an answer to that, isn't there? And all the economists know it, just no one's got the political balls to do it, and that is flatter taxes. Reduce taxes, your tax income will go up.
Well, yeah, that's the theory.
It's the theory. It's been seen in lots of countries.
But what about a wealth tax? What about the people paying? That would raise about 24 billion pounds too.
Yeah, but if you had flatter tax, it would raise more than that. It would raise a huge amount of money with flatter taxes.
The wealthy pay less tax.
They would pay less tax, but the tax revenue would go up.
Yeah.
So why is that not a good thing?
But if it were...
they're paying less tax on their but actually they'd be paying more tax because they're not going to be tax avoiding.
Well, but the idea is that tax avoiders, that you combat tax avoiders by lowering their taxes, therefore they're more likely to pay it. Why not stop them avoiding tax in the first place?
Well, that argument doesn't make sense.
Which is part of the spring statement.
No, you should be talking about tax evasion, which is very different.
Well, avoidance. I'm talking about tax avoidance, not evasion, which is illegal. I'm talking about avoidance.
But she said tax evasion, so let's
their fair share of
split hairs. But your problem with this whole wealth tax thing, I mean, yet again, here we are with the politics of envy, that people have set up businesses, they've made money, they've employed people. Good on them, and you want to tax them more. The problem is that those wealthy people are incredibly mobile and they will take their money elsewhere. And that's what Labour failed to understand, is that they will go and operate in another country that is more favourable. Well, so they will lose it from the UK.
Some might. I mean, if you could even do it as a one-off tax and actually catch them before they leave the country.
What good does that do in the long term, though?
First of all, I'm not sure that they will all leave the country.
They won't all leave, but a large number will.
You're talking about people with something like £10 million worth of wealth. You're asking them to pay about £400,000 in tax, about 2% on that wealth.
Which they already pay a lot of tax on anyway.
Provided they're not avoiding it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think, why can't these politicians take a look at the bigger picture and actually do something which will work, rather than just saying we'll do something which is punitive to some, but will keep other people happy. Do what's for the benefit of the country.
If your system worked, I mean, they'll be fine.
Nigel, we're out of time, I'm afraid.
OK.
We'll be back with you in the next hour. You two, thank you very much. To go to the weather now with Honor.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Into the weekend, there is going to be some rain at times, particularly on Saturday, feeling a little bit cooler too, but brighter and warmer by the time we reach Mother's Day on Sunday. Back to today, though, it's going to be quite a cloudy and wet start across parts of the southeast. Some rain lingering here for a time, but eventually clearing from around mid-morning and turning brighter behind this, but it's not going to be completely dry. Plenty of blustery showers moving their way into Scotland, Northern Ireland and northwestern parts of England, and at times skirting their way into central and southern parts too. Not going to be feeling quite as warm, but highs still reaching around 14 degrees across parts of the southeast. Then to finish off the day across Scotland, there's still going to be plenty of those showers moving through, heavy at times, perhaps some hail and thunder, and even bringing in some snow, particularly across the Scottish Highlands. So quite a wet end to the day and very breezy, particularly around western coasts. Fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northwestern parts of England still could see a few showers moving through, but most showers across Wales, central and southern parts should largely die away as we see a ridge of high pressure begin to build into the evening. Now, as that high pressure builds, that should kill off most of the showers across the country, and it leads to clear skies, so things are going to turn a bit chillier, perhaps some rural slight frost in places, and maybe even some mist and fog patches too. But there's still going to be quite a few showers feeding in across Shetland and Orkney and across western parts of Scotland. But for many, it's a largely dry night and feeling slightly chillier too. Now, through the course of the morning, if we do see any mist and fog, that should ease away fairly quickly, leading to a much brighter morning, particularly across central and southeastern parts. But across the west, parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, seeing quite a wet morning as another band of rain moves through. This could be quite heavy at times, and then starting to move into northern parts of England, Wales and Devon and Cornwall by the afternoon as well. And still very blustery across northern areas with some heavy showers, and still on the cool side, highs once again only reaching around 14 degrees Celsius.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. There are delays of up to a quarter of an hour to trains between York and Leeds, where overnight engineering works have overrun. In Essex, the A120 is blocked westbound by an accident near to Stansted Airport between Great Dunmow and the M11, causing delays. Trains have been stopped southbound from Cardiff Central to Barry and from Cardiff Central to Penarth because of a signalling problem at Grangetown, and Eurotunnel are reporting a wait of up to half an hour for freight at Folkestone after maintenance work earlier on. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's the final week to see how you can spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but two sought-after designer watches. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30am.
Only on GB News.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. A health scare for the King.
He's recovering today at Clarence House after a brief return to hospital following an adverse reaction to cancer treatment.
Well, the palace said it was a precautionary measure and has described it as a minor bump in the road.
All 4 of the King's engagements in Birmingham today have been postponed, but palace officials are hopeful the Italian state visit can go ahead. More details shortly.
The Prime Minister has co-hosted another Coalition of the Willing summit in Paris with plans for a reassurance force in Ukraine announced amongst the allies.
And we agreed here in Paris today that it's clear the Russians are filibustering. They are playing games and they're playing for time. It is a classic from the Putin playbook.
The government opens a new £100 million prison to tackle overcrowding. It's huge, got a capacity of 1,500, but is it enough to reduce crime levels?
Britain's pothole crisis continues as the Prime Minister gives councils an ultimatum: fix the potholes or lose funding. But JCB are slamming the patch and run approach.
Just Stop Oil have announced the end of their campaign of civil resistance after 3 years of chaos. That's because Ed Miliband has made their demands a government policy.
The first ever edible soap has been created to highlight hygiene poverty in the UK, where a number of people are forced to choose between food and toiletries. We'll be trying some of that edible soap later on.
And in the sport this morning, Chelsea do to Manchester City exactly what Arsenal did to Real Madrid by coming back from 2-0 down to win 3-0 at home and head into the semi-finals of the Women's Champions League. Max Verstappen likes an Instagram post saying that Red Bull bullied SAC driver Liam Lawson. And it's FA Cup final weekend, which starts with the London derby tomorrow.
Hello, good morning. Quite a wet start across the southeast, but brightening up later. Plenty of showers in the north, though, and maybe even a risk of snow. Stay tuned and I'll have all the details.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
We're just going to kick off with a little bit of breaking news, actually. There's been an earthquake with a magnitude of 7.7, epicentre somewhere near central Myanmar. Hundreds of people have been flooding out of the buildings in the Thai capital, Bangkok, after the tremors. Now, we don't know any details about damage, about casualties, exactly where the epicentre was. We're saying 7.7 at the minute. Those readings are normally revised, but of course there's a concern about aftershocks as well in this sort of situation. So we'll keep a close eye on that for you in the next few hours.
Now, the King has been in hospital after he suffered an adverse reaction to his cancer treatment.
He's been discharged and his engagements today have been cancelled.
Well, a statement from Buckingham Palace reads, following scheduled and ongoing medical treatment for cancer this morning, the King experienced temporary side effects that required a short period of observation in hospital. His Majesty's afternoon engagements were therefore postponed. His Majesty has now returned to Clarence House, and as a precautionary measure, acting on medical advice, tomorrow's diary programme will also be rescheduled.
Let's talk to our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker. Morning, Cameron.
Good morning.
It's disturbing news, but How disturbed should we be?
Well, I think it's a reminder, of course, that the King is still undergoing a weekly cycle of cancer treatments. And we know over the last 6 months, really, the King has been undergoing a full programme of public engagements. He's been ramping it up, even though the Queen and others have been telling him to slow down. And he didn't really want to. The last time we saw him was on Wednesday, where he carried out 2 separate engagements. Saw him in public, But I think the palace perhaps is right when they say a bump in the road. And the reason for that is because speaking to my sources inside the palace, it seems pretty obvious that the King and his doctors and his staff are still planning for this state visit to Italy to go ahead, which is happening in just under 2 weeks' time. So they appear to be seeing it as a bump in the road. But clearly this situation was serious enough that the King had to go into hospital, the London clinic. So it wasn't an A&E department, and he was taken to the hospital by car, suggesting it wasn't an emergency. I was with the Prince of Wales in Aberdeen all day yesterday. There was no indication from him that anything was wrong. He was his usual, happy self. The Queen did not accompany His Majesty to hospital either, again suggesting that the situation was not serious. It's been described as a precautionary measure that the King was in hospital yesterday. As you said, he's now back at Clarence House. I think this is perhaps just maybe a bit of a wake-up call and a reminder that the King is still undergoing cancer treatment.
Yeah, and especially for us as the public, because it would be so easy to forget it, Cameron, because he's so busy, isn't he? He's so hard-working. He's always out and about. We can see pictures of him now as Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner down in Cornwall just a few weeks ago. We need to remember, don't we, that this is a man in his 70s who is battling cancer, and he may need time sometimes just to recover at home.
Yes, and he's 76 years old, of course, so he's not a young man either. And, of course, 4 public engagements today have had to be postponed, is what they're saying. And the King, of course, has sent his apologies and his disappointment that he is having to miss that. And a lot of people were asking me yesterday when this news broke, well, why are the palace telling us that he's gone into hospital? Why not just keep it quiet if it was just such a minor issue? And I think they perhaps have learnt lessons from what happened last year, particularly with the Princess of Wales and keeping silence on issues such as this. Because, of course, I was planning to be in Birmingham today to cover the King's visit. And if they said, sorry, he's not going anymore, clearly we as journalists are going to be asking why. Yeah. And if they don't tell us why, that creates a void. And that void is filled by a lot of unpleasant speculation. So I think they're trying here to hit the nail on the head, be open and transparent and tell us exactly what's going on with the head of state.
But actually, it's a very good lesson, isn't it, in terms of... even when he first had issues with his prostate, it was very good in terms of people getting checked out and things. It was a very positive message. And with this, it's a good message to say people undergoing cancer treatment who appear to be doing very well can still have their off days.
Yeah, exactly. And the side effects he's experiencing, we understand, are not uncommon with cancer patients. Of course, they're not going into details as to exactly what side effects he's having, but I think we have seen, haven't we, that the King is taking a modern approach to medical issues. Gone are the days where they keep, medical diagnoses from the public. King George VI obviously had lung cancer. The public were never told. He just died unexpectedly from the public's perspective. Queen Elizabeth II, Prince Philip, again, their medical details were kept incredibly private, whereas the King, as you say, very open about his enlarged prostate. That led to a surge in NHS website visits from men perhaps experiencing similar symptoms. And again, he's been very open about his cancer diagnosis. So I think that is deliberate. I think it's a deliberate strategy to perhaps modernise the monarchy and also show us that, although he's head of state and the King, he is still a human being and can have the same medical problems that everybody else does.
OK. Cameron Walker, good to see you. Thank you very much.
Now, the Prime Minister has co-hosted another Coalition of the Willing summit in Paris alongside the French President Emmanuel Macron.
Well, plans for a reassurance force in Ukraine have been announced, though some EU nations have disagreed with the idea of armed forces being deployed.
Well, here's what the Prime Minister had to say.
And we agreed here in Paris today that it's clear the Russians are filibustering. They are playing games and they're playing for time. It is a classic from the Putin playbook. This is Europe mobilizing together behind the peace process on a scale that we haven't seen for decades. Backed by partners from around the world, we are determined to deliver a just and lasting peace. because we know that it is vital for Ukraine and Europe as a whole. And I am clear that it's also vital for Britain.
Well, let's get the thoughts now. Political commentator Theo Rushwood. Good to see you, Theo. And does it mean anything without US backing?
Well, Keir Starmer clearly still thinks that we're going to need US backing. Of course, we've heard from Donald Trump, his Secretary of State Marco Rubio as well. They've been consistent in their message that they think putting American contractors to get the benefits of this $100 billion mineral and rare earth deal into Ukraine will be a deterrent enough for Vladimir Putin to attack again or to continue in his war against Ukraine if American contractors and American workers are operating in Ukraine. But Keir Starmer has been absolutely clear, and the government's been clear from their point of view, that in order for this peace deal to last, it needs to be protected and it needs to have United States backing, a backstop, so you can put effectively European troops or European planes or deterrence at sea to secure the peace, but it will ultimately need a backstop from the United States that they'll step in if those forces come under attack from Putin. But at the same time, Keir Starmer isn't in exact agreement with Emmanuel Macron, the French president, on this, because he's of the view that Europe needs to protect Ukraine regardless, and therefore is willing to go ahead without the backing from Donald Trump.
I just wonder if Europe is looking like it's all bark and no bite with this.
That would be a fair assessment, yes. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, they're further ahead than they were certainly at the beginning of the year in terms of kick-starting these peace talks. But we've now had multiple coalition of the willing summits, planning meetings, operational meetings. There was an operational meeting with military leaders last week in London. But ultimately, this won't go ahead if Russia sticks to its what it set out, that it doesn't want any troops or any military forces operating under any flag, NATO or otherwise, in Ukraine to keep the peace. And ultimately, Keir Starmer, I would have thought, is not going to be allowed to be the blocker, and neither Emmanuel Macron, to a peace deal being struck. And that's the danger for Ukraine. And Ukraine are very alive to this, that in effect they're going to be shut out and Volodymyr Zelensky's country is going to in effect be carved up by between Russia and between Moscow and Washington.
So we've got Keir Starmer accusing Putin of playing games. And then we have the Ukrainians now saying that the Americans are moving the goalposts in terms of this minerals deal. President Trump now asking for more and payback, essentially, for that £100 billion investment.
Trump's gone even further. He's asking for $100 billion. And in effect, what this would have is you'd have a joint investment fund which would be shared between, this is under the deal that's being put forward by Washington, where Ukraine would, resources would be shared out as part of this investment fund, which would be jointly held between Ukraine and America. But the key proviso in this is that there would be 5 members that would oversee this investment fund, and 3 of those members would be from the United States. So in effect, Trump would hold the whip hand over how this fund is managed and maintained. And that, for Zelensky and for his team, I think would be, in effect, giving up power.
Yeah, well, you could understand that position. All right, Theo, for now, thanks very much indeed.
Now, the pressure is on for councils across the United Kingdom as the Prime Minister demands they prove that they are tackling the nation's pothole crisis or risk losing vital funding.
Well, JCB is a key player in the Pothole Partnership, and they're pushing for more than just quick fixes, calling for permanent solutions to stop our roads from falling apart.
Well, with millions of drivers suffering the consequences of potholes, we're asking this morning, is this the wake-up call that Britain's roads desperately need?
Let's talk to JCB's General Manager, Ben Rawding. Good to see you this morning. What is the issue here? Are you concerned that this pressure from the Prime Minister is effectively going to mean that councils are just going to do a quick, cheap job on potholes, which ultimately doesn't solve the problem?
Hi, good morning. Yes, look, we welcome the news for reporting on the progress of local authorities. I think the current climate we all face, it's really important that that money is spent effectively. But as you rightly mentioned, what we're calling for is a one-time fix. So when local authorities are going to fix these potholes, they do so in a manner that will last the test of time. The inefficiencies of repairing the same pothole time and time again is not how this budget should be used. So we're really calling for permanent repair and use of innovation, like the Pothole Pro you see there, to deliver permanent repairs at a lower cost for the local authorities.
Is it very costly to fix a pothole permanently? Because we are seeing this kind of patch and run approach, aren't we?
Actually, what we see is permanent repairs are far cheaper than reactive repairs. It doesn't make sense for local authorities to drive from road to road, doing lots of quick fixes, closing the road at significant cost time and time again. What we say, if you're going to close that road, if you're going to fix that pothole, do so in a manner that can be £30 rather than £70, £80 that could be done in a reactive temporary repair. And the economies of scale that can give that local authority when in the UK we're fixing a pothole every 18 seconds. So it really does ramp up in terms of that cost.
But in terms of sorting out our roads, I mean, I don't Mr. Pothole, or I would think what the figure was, but it was running into billions of pounds. I mean, he said it's money well spent because it would sort things out, but several £billion worth of work needs doing.
Well, the report out just last week showed that the current state of the UK roads, it would cost £17 billion and take 12 years to fix. But that's with today's methodology. That's where the reflection really needs to be. Let's use different innovation. Let's change the approach that we take in UK roads, as we see with other countries. And that's how we'll make this step change. That's how we'll really make progress within fixing this pothole plague.
OK, Ben Rawding, thank you very much for your time.
It sounds good.
Does sound good.
Does sound good.
It's so costly. And then there's the additional cost of all of the damage to people's cars.
Horrific, isn't
I mean, if you're on a motorbike or you're a cyclist and you hit a pothole, I mean, that you can be injured.
Well, if there is a decent machine that can do a decent job and do it better, quicker, cheaper, then why not? We need to sort it out.
Yeah, it needs sorting.
7:16, let's have a look at some of the other key stories this morning.
And some breaking news now. An earthquake magnitude 7.7 has struck in central Myanmar. Hundreds of people have pulled out of buildings in the Thai capital, Bangkok, after the tremors. We'll keep you updated here on GB News.
Now, Australians heading to the polls on May the 3rd. A 5-week race for the incumbents. The Prime Minister pitching the party's economic plans, including tax cuts, student debt relief, against the opposition leader's promise to slash immigration and government spending. Now, the opposition is targeting suburban voters hit hard by rising interest rates.
The Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has opened a new jail that holds 1,500 prisoners. Category C prison, HMP Millside, which is the size of 39 football pitches, is the latest step towards the government's target to create 14,000 extra prison places by 2031.
Right, let's get a quick check on the weather for you with Honor.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Into the weekend, there is going to be some rain at times, particularly on Saturday, feeling a little bit cooler too, but brighter and warmer by the time we reach Mother's Day on Sunday. Back to today, though, it's going to be quite a cloudy and wet start across parts of the southeast. Some rain lingering here for a time, but eventually clearing from around mid-morning and turning brighter behind this, but it's not going to be completely dry. Plenty of blustery showers moving their way into Scotland, Northern Ireland and northwestern parts of England, and at times skirting their way into central and southern parts too. Not going to be feeling quite as warm, but highs still reaching around 14 degrees across parts of the southeast. Then to finish off the day across Scotland, there's still going to be plenty of those showers moving through, heavy at times, perhaps some hail and thunder, and even bringing in some snow, particularly across the Scottish Highlands. So quite a wet end to the day and very breezy, particularly around western coasts. Fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northwestern parts of England still could see a few showers moving through, but most showers across Wales, central and southern parts should largely die away as we see a ridge of high pressure begin to build into the evening. Now, as that high pressure builds, that should kill off most of the showers across the country, and it leads to clear skies, so things are going to turn a bit chillier, perhaps some rural slight frost in places, and maybe even some mist and fog patches too. But there's still going to be quite a few showers feeding in across Shetland and Orkney and across western parts of Scotland. But for many, it's a largely dry night and feeling slightly chillier too. Now, through the course of the morning, if we do see any mist and fog, that should ease away fairly quickly, leading to a much brighter morning, particularly across central and southeastern parts. But across the west parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, seeing quite a wet morning as another band of rain moves through. This could be quite heavy at times, and then starting to move into northern parts of England, Wales and Devon and Cornwall by the afternoon as well. And still very blustery across northern areas with some heavy showers, and still on the cool side, highs once again only reaching around 14 degrees Celsius.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Of course, we're very pleased that GB News Breakfast has been nominated for a Tric Award again. We've reached the shortlist for the Best News Programme. Are we on the shortlist already? And we need your help. I thought we were on the long list, actually. Anyway, all of these awards are voted for you at home, so please scan the QR code on your screen right now. Go to poll-tric.org.uk.
But that's not all. We're also delighted to announce that our very own Charlie Peters has also been nominated in the Best News Presenter category as well. That's, of course, for his restless reporting on the grooming gangs. If you would like to vote for him, you can scan the QR code and go to poll-tric.org.uk. And if you decide to vote for us or for Charlie, thank you very much. Actually, both of us could be winners, couldn't we? Because we're in different categories. Everyone's a winner.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Now, Just Stop Oil have stopped. We'll tell you why in a minute.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new Royal Newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christys Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christys Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, it's the final week to see how you could win our massive spring giveaway. You could get a designer handbag, 2 designer watches.
2?
Yes,
2.
And an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash.
How many pounds?
I won't be doing that again. But make sure you don't miss out. Here are all of the details that you need.
It's the final week to see how you could spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag and not 1, but 2 sought-after designer watches, so you can style it out this spring. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck.
Now, eco-activists Just Stop Oil have apparently decided to hang up the high-vis jackets and end their campaign of civil resistance after chucking orange paint at everything for 3 years.
Well, yes. Their main objective was, of course, to wean the UK off fossil fuels, a policy now being implemented by the Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband.
Well, is this all good, bad or indifferent? Former Scotland Yard detective Peter Blexley is here, along with the director of the Climate Media Coalition, Donncha McCarthy. Good to see you both this morning.
Morning, you two.
Have they actually achieved anything, Donncha?
Good morning. Yeah, well, their objective was for the government to declare a policy of no new oil, no new gas, no new coal. The International Energy Agency says we cannot afford new oil if we were going to get to net zero by 2050. If we're going to protect Britain's borders, we're going to protect Britain's farmers, we've got to tackle climate change. So the minimum first step, according to the International Energy Agency, is to stop new oil if we're serious about moving to the green economy. So yes, I think they have achieved their objective.
Peter, do you believe them when they say they've hung up their high-vis?
This is a very cynical ploy by them, because on the 16th of May at Isleworth Crown Court, 9 of their members are going to be sentenced, having been convicted of trying to disrupt Heathrow Airport, where they were caught with wire cutters, glue. They were going to cut the fences, get onto the runways and glue themselves to it in an act of crash stupidity and, of course, extremely dangerous. So this is a cynical ploy, because they then hope to put it forward to the judge as some form of mitigation. We've learnt our lesson. Please send us to jail for less than you would have done because we've abandoned our tactics. Cynical ploy. The judge will see through it. And on the 16th of May, I look forward to watching all those stupid, infantile cretins getting sent rightfully to prison.
It's very strong language, Donncha. However, an awful lot of the public would agree. I mean, as much sympathy as people may have with the goals and aims of some of these people, the way they have behaved, I mean, it's appalling, actually.
Well, come on, look, I think it's been an iconic campaign. It's been...
Iconic?
Iconic?
Yeah, for example, throwing orange dust on a snooker table got global attention for their cause.
Well, look at this. We're seeing pictures of Stonehenge being attacked, which, I mean, there was real...
and was washed off really easily.
Well, there was real concern about the damage that would do.
There was concern. It could have done. It didn't do any damage. But Peter, unfortunately, calls people cretins. The cretins are not the scientists from the oil companies. The oil company scientists warned in the 60s and 70s, if we didn't act, climate change would damage our economy, damage our agriculture and damage the borders of this country. Those people are not cretins. They're serious scientists. And these people, who I think are heroes, are sounding the alarm to make sure that we act with the seriousness that we require. Unfortunately, Peter, calls them cretins. Why would you call scientists cretins?
The morons of Just Stop Oil proved fundamentally that they were enemies of the people. They started with obstructing the traffic, and the police were lamentably slow to deal with that. They did eventually. Then they chose the arts and culture. They disrupted theatre performances, and they tried to destroy priceless artefacts like the Magna Carta. Then they moved on to sporting events, the snooker that you mentioned, the Test match cricket, Lords, and the such like. They fundamentally proved they were the enemies of the people. The judiciary woke up to this and sentenced them accordingly to jail, significant jail terms. And to repeat once again, tune in on the 16th of May for more good news.
Peter, do you accept the climate science that the oil companies' scientists have said that this is a fundamental threat to Britain's economy, to our agriculture and to our borders? Do you accept that? And do you not accept that it is the responsibility of a government to protect its people from those threats to our health, to our agriculture and to our food? Why do you call people, scientists like that, cretins?
Last time I looked, I wasn't a scientist.
Exactly.
I'm here to talk from a law enforcement perspective about the appalling behaviour of Just Stop Oil. And I think I've made my case very clear.
Fair, as a person who supports the law, my father was a copper. I support the police. But do you not think the police's role in a civil society is to protect the people? And surely when the greatest threat to the people are the criminals and the oil companies are threatening our agriculture, our food and our borders, should not the police be taking action on them, not on peaceful protesters?
The police's job
is to protect the people.
To enforce the law.
Oh, so if the law is damaging the people, would you enforce the law?
That's a matter for parliamentarians.
So the question is yes.
It's a matter for parliamentarians, not the police.
It's a matter of conscience.
But you can't expect... I mean, the argument there is you can't expect the police to interpret the law, each individual police officer to interpret the law, can you, in their own way and act on a moral basis, because we'd all get policed to different levels.
And policing is not a matter of conscience. It is a matter of enforcing the law.
And my question to you is, as somebody who supports the law and who actually supports the law protecting people, do you support the scientists from the oil companies who say they were under threat? And what should the public do when the government isn't protecting us? Always in history, Peter, protest campaigns broke the law to actually raise the alarm, and the police cracked down on us. That's how it worked. But actually, in the end, the campaigners, whether they're gay campaigners, whether they're the women's rights campaigners, whether they're the equal ops campaigners, and now the climate campaigners are social campaigns that sometimes have to break the law to raise the alarm. And that's what's happening.
There we have to leave it, gents, because we're out of time, but good to see you both.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
You will certainly have a view on that one at home, so do let us know what it is. gbnews.com/yours say. We'll try and share as many as we can throughout the programme.
Now, still to come, no more W.H. Smiths on the British High Street. They're selling to a high street chain. Will the brand go? I don't know. Apparently, they could be called T.G. Jones. I'll tell you more in a minute.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. There are delays of up to 3/4 of an hour to trains between Leeds and both York and Selby, where overnight engineering works have overrun and trains have been stopped southbound from Cardiff Central to Barry and from Cardiff Central to Penarth because of a signalling problem. In Essex, the A120 is closed westbound at the Stansted Airport turn-off after an accident. Diversions by the Bassingbourne roundabout, Paul St Hughes heading away from Great Dunmow towards the M11. And in London, the A212 is blocked each way by an accident on White Horse Road in Thornton Heath, causing queues back into Croydon. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
please bring us up to date.
Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity, and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
7:34 has been telling you the King's cancelled appointments because of his cancer treatment. A bit of an adverse reaction, we're told. Let's talk to oncologist Professor Carol Sikora. Good to see you, Carol, as always. Can you talk us through what may have happened here? A lot of us, of course, don't know what it's like to go through cancer treatment. Is this unusual?
It's very usual, very normal, little blips in the normal course of things. You know, we've been asked not to speculate what type of cancer he has or exactly the treatment he's having, so let's not do that. But there's no doubt all cancer treatments have side effects, and sometimes even a year in, which is about this for the King, you get side effects just come out of the blue. And all you can do is take it easy, and that means for him cancelling visits, which is a shame, but it has to be done. I think the problem with cancer is that cancer's the enemy within. It's the same cells as our body. So unlike antibiotics, which destroy bacteria because they're so different from our cells in the body, with cancer treatment, you destroy some normal cells in the bone marrow, in the hair, in the skin, and in the intestines. So it's not unusual for blips to occur like this, and it's not really of any long-term significance. The fact that he went to the hospital, to the London clinic yesterday, and came out and went home means it's good news.
And is that pretty standard advice from doctors for somebody who's receiving cancer treatment to just go home and rest for a couple of days? Or do you think that is doctors being extra cautious because this is, of course, His Majesty the King that we're talking about?
Yeah, I think just resting for a couple of days is all you need. All cancer patients in the UK are given a number to phone 24/7 at their local cancer centre because you get adverse reaction to drugs. Sometimes some of the organs of the body weaken, and therefore it's important to have a checkup. What probably happened in the clinic yesterday, blood test was done, it was probably okay. They checked him over and said just take 2 days off and have a rest. And by Monday he'll be fine, I'm sure.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Carol Sikora, always good to get your professional view on these sort of things. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you. That's reassuring.
It is reassuring, and it's what we need. What we need to hear. Good stuff. Right, Paul, can you reassure us with the sport?
I can. Chelsea beat Manchester City 3-0 last night in the Women's Champions League. They were 2-0 down after the first leg. It's just like what happened to Arsenal with Real Madrid just the day before, which means that there's a possibility of an all-English Champions League final for women. Arsenal versus Lyon in the first game, and Chelsea will play Barcelona.
So a chance. Much of a chance?
Yeah, absolutely. I think absolutely. What about the FA? The FA Cup is back as well this weekend.
Oh, yes.
2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. So we've got Fulham against Crystal Palace and Brighton versus Nottingham Forest. Brighton haven't lost since the last time they played Nottingham Forest when they lost 7-0. 7-0. Preston against Aston Villa, Bournemouth against Manchester City. So those games are over the weekend. Do you want to see the winged suit world record?
Yes.
This is magnificent. Have a look at this. Sebastian Alvarez, his name is, shattered 3... Look at this. Look at see the curvature of the Earth. So it's one of these wing suits. So he's jumped out of this aeroplane from 41,000 feet. Planes usually... Planes are about 30,000 feet. And he just flies down. So the 3 world records that he broke, speed is one. How many miles an hour do you reckon he's doing? So he's just jumped out, basically.
I'd say 180.
OK.
I don't know. Terminal velocities, like...
Oh.
Oh, right, wow.
Is it
very scientific.
That got
Is it
very
200 miles an hour or
scientific.
something, terminal velocity?
341 miles an hour.
Is that because of the speed of the plane when he jumped out, presumably?
Well, I don't know. I think the fact that he's going out of the plane and flying downwards, and the old record was 246. The distance he's done is 33 miles. And he was in the air for 11 minutes and 1 second.
Is that all?
That's it. You'd think. I'm trying to do the maths here, thinking that he's doing 341 miles an hour and how far he would go. But it was 33 miles, and it's a new... I feel like Roy Castle here. It's a new world record.
Oh, right.
Look
Wow. Rather him than me.
Well, I don't know. It would be fun, wouldn't it?
No, I'd rather sit that one out. I'd watch that.
Maybe it wouldn't be. There he is.
Yes. It's all very good. Terminal velocity is 150 miles an hour.
Would you like to explain what terminal velocity is?
It's a steady speed achieved by an object freely falling through a gas or liquid.
That's absolutely right. That's what I was going to say. Exactly what I was going to say, word for word, apart from the liquid bit. There you go.
Is air liquid?
No.
Or a gas?
No.
Oh, it's a gas.
It's a gas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
Air is not liquid.
She's good.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, she's good.
Yeah, don't try breathing underwater
Wow,
next
it's
time.
early,
You'll see.
guys. Just forgive me for that one. It's a gas.
Right.
Air is gas.
Yes.
We've got to let you go. But we'll see you in the next hour.
That was a gas. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Gas.
It was something. Right, if you fancy a bit of winter sun, here are the European hotspots.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Unsettled weather across central parts of the Mediterranean with heavy showers and possibly some thunderstorms. But after all, the rain across Spain and Portugal turning much drier here, and with plenty of prolonged blue skies too as the Azores highs stretches across Spain and Portugal. But as we move our way further east, heavy showers, some longer outbreaks of rain, and this could turn heavy with some hail and thunder. Now into next week, it's turning a little bit brighter, more sunshine around, and feeling a little bit warmer too, with the best of the temperatures across Tenerife.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Now, how fierce is the competition to become Lord Sugar's next business partner? Well, our final guest today has been in the throes of that competition.
Goodness me, yes. Liam Snellen is taking part in the current series of The Apprentice, and he worked as an electrician for 10 years, and now he's turning his hand to making comfortable yet fashionable workwear. So there you go.
Well, I just want to ask what it's like to be a contestant on The Apprentice, having been a fan of the show for years prior. Is it a bit weird?
Yeah, do you know what? I wouldn't say it's weird. I feel like you can manifest anything in life, you know, and over 10 years ago I said that I wanted to be on the show with no real business at the time and not knowing how I was going to do it. But as I said, I manifested it and I'm here and on the show.
You manifested it? How did you manifest it then? Go on.
Well, you just need to vision that something has already happened, you know, you just haven't attained it yet, so you just need to attain the frequency to achieve that thing, and that's obviously what I've done, and it's my time.
Liam, are you still on the show?
I am still on the show.
How far did you make it?
So, well, you have to wait and see. You have to wait and see. Obviously,
Could be the winner.
Yeah, could be. So we had a little bit of banter about a hot sauce. I was licking a plate, which was a bit embarrassing. So we was doing an advertisement for our hot sauce brand. We didn't actually have the bottle, so we needed to sort of think on our feet and make an advert without having the product.
How long are you in the boardroom? Obviously, it has to be sliced down to an hour, but you must be in there for a long time, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So obviously, you're in there a lot longer than what it shows. You know, it's such a small part of the show when really you're in there for like up to a couple of hours. So it's a really intense period. Like, they definitely go into all of the task and the good things and the bad things that happened, and then obviously the key highlights get shown to the public.
The People's Channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Going through the papers now, and Nigel Nelson and Claire Pearsall. Morning, you two. Should we start with this news that WH Smith is to be rebranded?
Smith & Jones.
To TG Jones.
Alas, yeah.
I'm not surprised, I hate to put it to everybody, that WH Smith was the most expensive place on the high street, the largest stores you could ever imagine. And the range of items was strange.
Yeah.
Now, I used to live in it when I was a kid because you used to buy books and magazines and it was great and there was always a great selection. And sweets, yeah. But now it just seems like it's lost its purpose.
It's gone a bit off the boil.
But why the name? I mean, it seems to be a complete mystery why they want to turn WH Smith into TG Jones.
It's not a lot of imagination.
No,
there,
it's not
it?
really. I mean, if they had a really sort of sparky title or something like that, they'd be fine. But it's sort of the same kind of thing, isn't it?
But everybody's going to still call it WH Smith's because it'll be in the same shop, in the same high street that you've known it for years and years. So you're going to go, oh, yeah, that's Smith's.
Yeah.
And you're still going to nip in. You're not going to call it by the new name. It'll take a very long time before any kind of new name would bed in anyway.
But it's been valued at 76 million, which is not a lot.
No, it's not. And it's 500 stores being sold. So that's actually quite a lot of stores disappearing from... Well, not disappearing, but being changed over.
Well, it might give it a new lease of life, which has got to be a good thing.
But it's a sign of our changing high street, isn't it? Our dying high street, you might say. I mean, people would buy books now online, wouldn't they? It'd be much cheaper. Or go to the local charity shop. Or go to the local charity shop.
Can we have a look at Lakshmi Mittal, who's the steel tycoon? Whose name will be familiar. Wasn't he associated with Mandelson?
Yeah, there's some time ago, yes. There was...
So very strong connections with the Labour Party, but now he's leaving the UK in response to what the Labour Party's doing.
To the non-dom tax, yes. That even though Rachel Reeves has sort of eased the non-dom tax a bit, he's decided he wants to go elsewhere. He's got properties all over the world, Dubai, for instance. Well, OK, if he wants to leave, he wants to leave. I mean, there is a lot of discrepancy about how many people actually are leaving because of non-dom tax. There are estimates of 10,000, but none of that's ever been corroborated. So we just don't know how many people have actually gone. And the tax is set to raise about £2.5 billion.
Claire?
Which Claire is obviously completely against.
Does this not prove my earlier point that billionaires, millionaires, they're quite mobile? And after 3 decades, Mittal has decided that he's had enough of this and he will just up and move because he can. So, yes, you don't know how many other millionaires, billionaires, maybe they just haven't publicised that they've gone. He's quite a big name. It's in his interest to make sure his company is recognised. But that's quite damning on the Labour Party for someone that has such close ties to it to say this isn't a favourable environment for me anymore financially, so I'm leaving.
Yeah, but what we don't know is that of the people hit by this tax, you're talking about 26,000 people who are very rich, and is it not right?
And we're talking about half of them have gone then, 10,000.
Well, we don't know that figure is right. That figure actually comes out. It's from a South African company which has made an estimate on a survey of 250 of them.
So our best guess is nearly half of them have gone.
Well, I mean, the moment there is no guess. I mean, the original figure was going to be about 100 were expected to leave out of that 26,000 who would actually pay the tax. I mean, you know, these are rich people.
We need to be encouraging rich people to come to the UK, don't we, to spend their money and bolster our economy.
Well, in a sense, Rachel Reeves did tweak it to actually do that. So now that the transition period, she extended that from 2 years to 3 years, so they can do that. They can bring their wealth in without it being taxed for a limited period of time.
But I think,
isn't it right that people who live here and make money here ought to pay tax here?
But I think with non-doms in particular, they're going to look at, yes, she may have extended it from 2 years to 3 years, but what's going to be the next clampdown? What's going to be the next tax? And as we've seen, businesses are being hit very hard. If you were a businessman or woman in your own right, why would you look at the United Kingdom as a viable place for you to have your business?
Yeah, but
if
I mean,
the tax rates are going to keep changing on such a frequent
But we're
basis.
back to the same old question. If you don't take the money from there, where does it come from? So disabled people can't leave the country, and yet they're being whacked hugely by the new taxes.
But you didn't like the answer that we gave earlier about lowering taxes to a flat rate. You
No,
didn't
I
like
don't.
that either. So what is it? What is it you do like?
I like a wealth tax.
He's trying to tax the rich
Tax
out of
the rich,
existence.
Claire, let's have a look at this story, shall we, about a new prison opening in Yorkshire.
Yes, this is so a new prison can hold roughly 1,500 prisoners. It's a Category C prison to create 14,000 extra spaces based up in Yorkshire. Good. Is all I can say.
Well, we need a lot more, don't we?
More prisons. We need.
I mean, presumably this
capacity.
as a project must have started a long time before this government.
Yes, it did.
Yes, yeah, it absolutely did, and it's only just opening up now, which I think gives you the measure of the planning laws in this country anyway to be able to get these things through. But good on them.
HMP Millsike, if that's not known as milkshake by the lag.
Yes. Very soon, yeah. I mean, I still think that they ought to look at sentencing to try and reduce the prison population. So David Gauke, who was a former Justice Secretary, is doing that. He's having a sentencing review. I hope he will come up at the end of it with something he's suggested before, which is to abolish sentences below 6 months. And by doing that, you'd free up about 1 in 3 prison places, and that could provide an answer to prison overcrowding.
Talking about saving money, I mean, you said it's dreadful that the government's going after people with a disability. The Times, 1 in 4 Brits claim to have a disability, Nigel. We should all be getting handouts.
Well, yes, I mean...
I'm a type 1 diabetic. Although I am covered by the Disability at Work Act, maybe I should be able to claim...
So you're the 1 in 4?
I'm the 1 in 4, but I'm not entitled to claim any benefits as a result of being a type 1 diabetic, but perhaps I should.
But it doesn't...
I want a handout. Money for nothing.
But does it stop you actually doing your job?
It stops me doing a lot of things.
But what about your job?
I have to... Well, I'm sometimes I go hypo on air, don't I?
You do,
Maybe I should get money for that.
Danger money.
Danger money. I should, and maybe it affects my mental health, Nigel, because it's a lot to cope with 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
You can get from home to office without too much of a problem.
Well, I can if I'm not going hypo.
Well, in that case,
Maybe
I think Ellie should get carer's allowance
You
then.
should get carer's allowance. But I am living quite independently. Maybe I should get personal independence payments.
Yes. I mean, what I'm trying to establish is how much of a disability would you say this is?
Well,
I mean, it's not a great thing to have, I appreciate.
I think it's a lot more of a disability than these people who say they've got poor mental health.
Well, the poor mental health thing, I mean, obviously it depends what it is, but this is where we should look at whether or not we're getting sicker. So take autism. In the 1940s, 1 in 2,500 people were diagnosed as autistic. Now it's 1 in 100. Does that mean there are more autistic people, or simply that we are able to diagnose it better? Or is there something else going on?
Does it mean autistic people need payments, or can most of them go out and get a job?
Well, it would depend. It would depend on their autism. So, but some of those will need help in the workplace.
Please.
I'd like some help.
I'd like some help in the workplace.
In terms of a cheque, I think I'm entitled. But this is where it gets ridiculous, Nigel. No wonder they've got to start slashing all the budgets, because people are getting money for nothing.
Well, I think there's some people... This is the whole point about looking at it and finding out why people are claiming. Some of them are, yeah.
Claire, what did you stick up your nose as a child?
I didn't, but my child did.
But your child has.
Yes, I had to take my lovely small person to hospital.
Small person?
He's 6'1".
6'5" now, isn't he?
Yeah. Comes home this afternoon, so he'll hate me for this. But I had to take him to the local hospital because he had some pieces of sponge stuck up his nose. He decided to get the car scraper, the ice scraper, and he sat in the back seat and picked off the little bits of sponge and put them up one nostril.
A weird child you've raised.
It was a cracking experience
creative.
in hospital.
Yeah.
Can't understand why. He doesn't really know why. I think it was just because it was there. And we had to go to hospital, and it was very, very traumatic for me.
Oh, was
it? It was.
I bet it was.
Embarrassing, I should think. About traumatic, extremely
It's when you
embarrassing.
get questioned as to what were you doing whilst your child was doing that, and I was like, I was driving. I couldn't keep an eye on him. He was in the back seat in his car seat.
Well, apparently this cashless society that we're now living in is causing fewer children to have injuries sustained from sticking coins up their nose.
Because there are no coins. There are no coins anymore.
65% of injuries children appearing at hospital was due to coins.
Yeah.
Anyway, on that note, you two need to go. Thank you. I'm going to fill out a claim for benefits because I think I'm probably entitled. Let's have a look at the weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Into the weekend, there is going to be some rain at times, particularly on Saturday, feeling a little bit cooler too, but brighter and warmer by the time we reach Mother's Day on Sunday. Back to today, though, it's going to be quite a cloudy and wet start across parts of the southeast. Some rain lingering here for a time, but eventually clearing from around mid-morning and turning brighter behind this, but it's not going to be completely dry. Plenty of blustery showers moving their way into Scotland, Northern Ireland and northwestern parts of England, and at times skirting their way into central and southern parts too. Not going to be feeling quite as warm, but highs still reaching around 14 degrees across parts of the southeast. Then to finish off the day across Scotland, there's still going to be plenty of those showers moving through, heavy at times, perhaps some hail and thunder, and even bringing in some snow, particularly across the Scottish Highlands. So quite a wet end to the day and very breezy, particularly around western coasts. Fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northwestern parts of England still could see a few showers moving through, but most showers across Wales, central and southern parts should largely die away as we see a ridge of high pressure begin to build into the evening. Now, as that high pressure builds, that should kill off most of the showers across the country, and it leads to clear skies, so things are going to turn a bit chillier, perhaps some rural slight frost in places, and maybe even some mist and fog patches too. But there's still going to be quite a few showers feeding in across Shetland and Orkney and across western parts of Scotland. But for many, it's a largely dry night and feeling slightly chillier too. Now, through the course of the morning, if we do see any mist and fog, that should ease away fairly quickly, leading to a much brighter morning, particularly across central and southeastern parts. But across the west, parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, seeing quite a wet morning as another band of rain moves through. This could be quite heavy at times, and then starting to move into northern parts of England, Wales and Devon and Cornwall by the afternoon as well. And still very blustery across northern areas with some heavy showers, and still on the cool side, highs once again only reaching around 14 degrees Celsius.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Orkney ferry sailings between Pirrawall and Papa Westray are suspended because of poor weather conditions. There are delays of up to 3/4 of an hour to trains between Leeds and both York and Selby, where overnight engineering works have overrun, and train services are suspended southbound from Cardiff Central to both Barry and Penarth because of a signalling problem. In Essex, the A120 is closed westbound at Stansted Airport after an accident causing delays towards the M11. In London, the A212 is closed along White Horse Road in Thornton Heath after an accident with queues back into Croydon, and the M27 in Hampshire is partly blocked westbound by an accident between junctions 7 and 5 near Southampton, causing delays.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's the final week to see how you could spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but two sought-after designer watches. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning. A health scare for the King.
He's recovering today at Clarence House after a brief return to hospital following an adverse reaction to cancer treatment.
Well, the palace says it was a precautionary measure and described the episode as a most minor bump in the road.
All 4 of his engagements in Birmingham have been postponed today, but palace officials are hopeful that the Italian state visit can still go ahead. More details shortly.
Myanmar has been struck by a 7.7 magnitude earthquake, causing tremors, evacuations and destruction in nearby countries.
The Prime Minister's co-hosted another Coalition of the Willing meeting in Paris, with plans for a reassurance force in Ukraine announced amongst the allies.
And we agreed here in Paris today that it's clear the Russians are filibustering. They are playing games and they're playing for time. It is a classic from the Putin playbook.
The government opens a new £100 million prison to tackle overcrowding. It's the size of 39 football pitches and has a capacity of 1,500 spaces. We're asking this morning, is it enough to reduce crime levels?
The first ever edible soap has been created to highlight hygiene poverty in the UK, where people are forced to choose between food and toiletries. Will be, well, I'll be eating it, Ellie will be washing with it later on.
And I'll be washing my mouth out with soap. And in sport this morning, Chelsea do to Manchester City exactly what Arsenal did to Real Madrid by coming back from 2-0 down to win 3-0 at home and then heading to the semi-finals of the Women's Champions League. Now, Max Verstappen likes an Instagram post saying that Red Bull bullied SAC driver Liam Lawson, and there are 2 Kylian Mbappes. So could Spurs have one of them?
Hello, good morning. Quite a wet start across the southeast, but brightening up later. Plenty of showers in the north, though, and maybe even a risk of snow. Stay tuned and I'll have all the details.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Go on.
You go first.
I was going to say, Paul's obsessed with the soap.
I'm obsessed with the soap. I had a teacher when I was at primary school who actually took one of the kids out because he said a rude word and literally washed his mouth out with soap. You know the phrase, wash your mouth up with a soapy visitor? Actually did it. And she took him to the... and washed his mouth up.
You'd get arrested now.
I think so. I think even mentioning it, he'd get arrested. But can you imagine?
Yeah.
And washed his mouth out with soap.
I'm a bit worried about this edible soap.
Are you? You're going to be forced to eat it in about 20 minutes' time.
Yeah, but...
How are you feeling about that? And I've been reassured that it's vegan, so you can eat it. Not that you're vegan.
I'm not... No.
Is it literally like a hard bar?
Of soap. But apparently it's... You can grate it on top of your food.
Like cheese.
But
right.
Is that before or after you've done your nether regions with it? Well, I mean...
No, clearly you'd eat it, you'd have a little nibble, have a little snack.
You'd grate a bit and then wash yourself.
Then take it to the shower.
You will have to wash your mouth out with soap, mister.
But then once you've washed yourself with it, then you can't eat it?
I wouldn't want to, would you?
I'd imagine that the eating is the last part of the soap because there's no, so you've got to...
no, so I'd
do
see the other way
then
around.
you do the wash and then you do the eat. But maybe you don't have to do them
You'd
both.
have to eat it and then you'd have to wash it. Otherwise, that's gross.
Hold on, you eat what? You eat the soap?
Yeah, so you eat a bit.
Yeah.
And then you go have a shower. You're not going to wash. You're not going to
but
wash
hold on, where's the
yourself
soap
with it and
gone?
then eat it.
But you've consumed the soap.
You're not going to eat all of it.
You consume your soap.
You just use both ways. Use it for
Maybe you just do that little bit that you're left with that you can't do anything with.
Right.
It goes all floppy and useless.
Oh, that bit. Yeah.
That's what you eat.
Oh, I hate that bit. Yeah. What do you do with that? Do you throw it away or do you just use it until it's completely gone?
Well,
That must be crazy.
these are questions for Ruth Brock, who's the CEO of the Hygiene Bank.
Well, Ruth, you just say eat it when it's small, and then you just pop it in and you're all done with.
A little snack in the bath.
Yeah, and very nice. Maybe.
Anyway, we'll find out later what's going on with that. Let's talk about the King. He's been in hospital after having an adverse reaction to some cancer treatment.
Well, he's now been discharged and his engagements today have been cancelled.
Well, there's been a statement from the palace. It said, following scheduled and ongoing medical treatment, the King experienced temporary side effects that required a short period of observation in hospital. Afternoon appointments were therefore postponed. He's back at Clarence House as a precautionary measure and acting on medical advice. The diary for today will also be rescheduled.
Well, joining us now is GB News royal correspondent Cameron Walker. And it's worrying news, Cameron. I know that Buckingham Palace are trying to play it down, but it is worrying, isn't it? It's a man in his 70s.
Yeah, I mean, it is slightly worrying because, of course, doctors have deemed it serious enough, whatever adverse reaction he had to his cancer treatments, to go into hospital. The London Clinic, of course, a world leader in cancer care, that's where he was taken. But that's also a bit of a positive because, A, he was taken by car rather than emergency ambulance, and he wasn't taken to an A&E department, which suggests this wasn't an emergency admission. It is purely, as royal sources seem to indicate, just a precautionary measure. But you're right, Ellie, he is 76 years old, and I think this is a little bit of a wake-up call because his schedule over the last 6 months in particular has been relentless. Gruelling tours to Australia and Samoa. Domestically, of course, he's been ramping up his engagements. It is a full programme of engagements. And he's being used perhaps a bit by the UK government to shore up relations with Donald Trump in the US. He's met 2 Canadian Prime Ministers, showed support for President Zelensky as well. So he's not slowing down, even though the Queen and his doctors have been urging him to do so. And it is a wake-up call because whatever reaction he's had has forced him to cancel these 4 engagements in Birmingham today, which is a decision he wouldn't have taken lightly.
And yet, he's still planning on going to Italy, is it, in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, he is. So we knew that the Vatican part of the state visit, 2 state visits, but the Vatican part's been cancelled because of the Pope's health. But Italy is, as far as we're aware, still going ahead, so perhaps that was part of the decision-making as well. We don't want to push him too hard over this next week because, of course, we do want him to be fighting fit for a weeks-long state visit to Italy. If they had to cancel that, then clearly I think alarm bells would be ringing quite substantially. So they're trying to nip it in the bud, I think. They're being quite open and transparent, telling us exactly what has gone on. He's still working behind the scenes. We're told he was working on state papers and making phone calls in his private office in Clarence House yesterday afternoon, although he didn't receive 3 ambassadors in Buckingham Palace yesterday. Those were postponed as well. So I think it's a precautionary tale here, but clearly it is serious enough that it's on all the front pages because he's gone to hospital, and the King going to hospital is clearly a situation we need to take note of.
But it's in keeping as well, isn't it, with his openness about his treatment that we've seen from the very beginning?
Yeah, it is a step away from the likes of his grandfather, George VI, and indeed his parents, Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. George VI, of course, had lung cancer for a number of years. The public were never told, and then, of course, he passed away. Prince Philip, Queen Elizabeth, both very private with their medical details, whereas King Charles has been very open, and surge in NHS visits to the NHS website following his enlarged prostate diagnosis and, of course, his cancer diagnosis as well. We think it is the King who wants to be open and transparent about his medical details, and, of course, by staying silent, it does create the void, which we saw with the Princess of Wales's health this time last year, hashtag where is Kate Middleton and the like, and all those horrible online conspiracy theories, which clearly is something Buckingham Palace is wanting to avoid. But, I mean, I was with, well, the Queen carried out her engagements as normal yesterday. I was with the Prince of Wales in Aberdeen covering his engagements yesterday, and there was no indication from him that he was in any way alarmed, and similar, and by extension, his team appeared in pretty good spirits as well. So I think it is just a blip, as the Palace seems to be indicating.
Yeah, well, that's positive news. OK, Cameron, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks.
Now, the Prime Minister has co-hosted another Coalition of the Willing summit in Paris alongside French President Emmanuel Macron.
Well, plans for a reassurance force in Ukraine have been announced, though some EU nations have disagreed with the idea of armed forces being deployed.
Here's what the Prime Minister had to say.
And we agreed here in Paris today that it's clear the Russians are filibustering. They are playing games and they're playing for time. It is a classic from the Putin playbook. This is Europe mobilizing together behind the peace process on a scale that we haven't seen for decades. Backed by partners from around the world, we are determined to deliver a just and lasting peace, because we know that it is vital for Ukraine and Europe as a whole. And I am clear that it's also vital for Britain.
Well, let's get the thoughts of political commentator Peter Barnes, who joins us in the studio now. And Peter, I mean, we can hear from the Prime Minister there, but does it mean anything without US backing?
Well, the reality is it doesn't. This is the point. And even Starmer himself came out just the other day and said that without the US, most of this is kind of pointless and irrelevant. You know, well, not to kind of borrow a phrase, but coalition of chaos seems to be ringing a bell rather than coalition of the willing. You know, like Macron has announced just the other day that there's going to be this kind of reassurance force, which is there to deter, apparently. It's not there to kind of encourage attacks, but we'll see how that plans out, because the important thing that we've noticed that really came out of the third summit, which was on Thursday, was that not all nations, despite being part of this group, are actually on board with what they want to do. You know, how on earth can they say this is a coalition of the willing when they've not even got even their own people on side? We're up to 30 nations now, including members of NATO and of the EU. I don't know why they're there, but you know, they just seem to turn up everywhere. But you know, it's been headed out by the French and by ourselves, but you know, again, this is completely meaningless without, you know, real detail and real kind of actual kind of backing and from the United States, because like I said, all of this is happening with Trump and Putin in negotiations, which
come on, I mean, that's the reality. We're being told, and the White House busy telling us, yes, the negotiations are happening, it's, you know, but actually Putin, I beg your pardon, is laughing up his sleeve, isn't he, at the moment?
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing where, you know, people forget just how much of a skilled operator Putin actually is at this game. You know, you don't get to stay Russian president for as long as he has without having some kind of, you know, game skills. But, you know, this conflict has been going on for 3 years now, and we've now got about 200 planners flying out to Ukraine from all these different nations. But, you know, we're not really seeing anything in terms of, you know, any kind of definites. It's all kind of maybes, ifs and buts. And just feel like this is just a kind of show exercise to say that, you know, that Europe can actually get involved in this stuff, when the reality is it's a complete irrelevancy without Donald Trump and the Americans.
Yeah.
But watching Keir Starmer strut around thinking he's in charge is entertaining and embarrassing at the same time, I have to admit. But his focus is mainly on wanting to be seen to be a wartime Prime Minister rather than being one.
And there's also this widening gap, isn't there, between the difference in approach between the way the US are dealing with Russia and the way that Britain, the rest of Europe, is dealing with Russia, and this carrot and stick approach. So Keir Starmer yesterday talking about sanctions, saying they need to be increased. Now's the time to go harder on Russia, to force them to the table. Meanwhile, you've got President Trump talking to Putin about keeping the land that he seized. Yeah,
I think this is the difference between a politician coming at the table and a businessman coming at the table. You know, I think we're really starting to see Trump the deal maker. Do you know, their approaches are, you're right, it's radically different, and it was interesting to see which one will bear any fruit. But
neither are.
But I think this is also the point. Is like you said, that Putin is laughing his head off because, you know, he's just winning this argument again and again and again because the West is not united, and because of that, he gets to continue to do whatever he wants.
Is this why, do we think, that Zelensky was so quick to accept this, despite that showdown in the White House, everything? He was so quick to say, yeah, all right, we'll accept this deal, let's take it to the next stage, because he knew it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I also think that Zelensky has said, you know, yes to Trump and the Americans pretty much because he's seen the chaos that's coming out of Europe. You know, this is a guy that, you know, he's very friendly when he needs to be, but, you know, when push comes to shove, he knows which side of the bread is buttered. And that is with the Americans. It has to be, you know. So, you know, that whole showdown in the White House, I think that a lot of it was theatre and performance from the US president to kind of show Zelensky that, you know, Trump is in charge. The Americans are running the board here. It's nothing to do with the Europeans. It's the Americans' way or it's no way at all. And I think this is the reality of it because, like we said, this kind of reassurance force, again, there's no detail, there's no backing, there's no substance to it. And, you know, even Macron has said they have to be prepared for if the Americans don't get involved. So because of this uncertainty, there's no kind of show of force, which is what we need to kind of bring Putin to the table and to actually show that we can take him on. Because at the moment, we look a little foolish.
OK. Peter, thank you very much indeed. See you later.
Now, a state of emergency has been declared in Thailand after a magnitude 7.7 earthquake was struck in central Myanmar, which is its neighbouring country.
Buildings have collapsed and residents and workers have been evacuated from offices and homes. This in Thailand, we think, which obviously is pretty close by and has been shocked by this. Let's talk to Alexi Veer, who's in Bangkok. Morning, Alexi. What can you tell us?
Good morning. Well, listen, what can I tell you? My life is a movie. I just don't know if it's a drama or a comedy yet. Because I ended up in Thailand because I was chasing a girl. And I was in a toxic relationship, a lot of like push and pull, ups and downs. And mind you, like for the last 6 months, I've been in China training Kung Fu with Shaolin monks. Then I meet the girl. She invites me to Thailand. As a complete fool, I give up on my Kung Fu dream and decide to chase her. Except when I'm at the...
Oh, looks like we might have lost Alexi there.
Yeah, we've lost that line.
But having a look at the situation in Thailand, there's very little information from the ground in Myanmar. But in Thailand, which is a neighbouring country, in Bangkok, residents apparently pouring out of high-rise buildings there as they were shaking. And some witnesses there saying that the tremors were forceful enough to send the water. And we can send it. We can see it now, live pictures coming on the screen. Live pictures sloshing out of the pools in Thailand as well. Really strong tremors there.
I don't know where... is that in Bangkok as well? I can't see the strap on that.
It is
but they
Bangkok,
see some of the damage there where there have been buildings collapsing. But it does look like the epicentre was in Myanmar. But we'll keep you up to date with that. It's slightly worrying, isn't it? We'll keep you up to date with that as and when we can.
Yeah. Let's get a check on the weather now with Honor.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Into the weekend, there is going to be some rain at times, particularly on Saturday, feeling a little bit cooler too, but brighter and warmer by the time we reach Mother's Day on Sunday. Back to today, though, it's going to be quite a cloudy and wet start across parts of the southeast. Some rain lingering here for a time, but eventually clearing from around mid-morning and turning brighter behind this, but it's not going to be completely dry. Plenty of blustery showers moving their way into Scotland, Northern Ireland and northwestern parts of England, and at times skirting their way into central and southern parts too. Not going to be feeling quite as warm, but highs still reaching around 14 degrees across parts of the southeast. Then to finish off the day across Scotland, there's still going to be plenty of those showers moving through, heavy at times, perhaps some hail and thunder, and even bringing in some snow, particularly across the Scottish Highlands. So quite a wet end to the day and very breezy, particularly around western coasts. Fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northwestern parts of England still could see a few showers moving through, but most showers across Wales, central and southern parts should largely die away as we see a ridge of high pressure begin to build into the evening. Now, as that high pressure builds, that should kill off most of the showers across the country, and it leads to clear skies, so things are going to turn a bit chillier, perhaps some rural slight frost in places, and maybe even some mist and fog patches too. But there's still going to be quite a few showers feeding in across Shetland and Orkney and across western parts of Scotland. But for many, it's a largely dry night and feeling slightly chillier too. Now, through the course of the morning, if we do see any mist and fog, that should ease away fairly quickly, leading to a much brighter morning, particularly across central and southeastern parts. But across the west, parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, seeing quite a wet morning as another band of rain moves through. This could be quite heavy at times, and then starting to move into northern parts of England, Wales and Devon and Cornwall by the afternoon as well. And still very blustery across northern areas with some heavy showers, and still on the cool side, highs once again only reaching around 14 degrees Celsius.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's your last week, believe it or not, to see if you could win in our big spring giveaway. A designer handbag, 2 designer watches, £17,777 in cold, hard cash. Here's how you enter.
It's the final week to see how you could spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not 1, but 2 sought-after designer watches, so you can style it out this spring. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. 1 entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to be trying edible soap. We're not sure how we feel about it, but apparently it's highlighting the hygiene poverty in the UK. A number of people choosing between eating or keeping themselves clean. We'll talk about that next.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Well, the end of February marks the beginning of the holy month of Ramadan, and the Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer was quick to wish all Muslims Ramadan Mubarak.
Yes, he was, and the royal family also took to their Twitter feed, and they have millions of followers to mark the occasion, sending their best wishes to Muslims in the UK, Commonwealth and all around the world.
Which is all very nice, and quite right, of course, because there are many, many Muslims who are in the Commonwealth, which the royal family heads. However, what's been said for the Christians?
Zippo.
Because there's been a deafening silence from, well, the royal family, politicians and many others as Christians mark the beginning of Lent, despite the fact the King is, of course, head of the Church of England.
Yes, it's all rather disappointing. Shall we get the reaction of the former chaplain to Queen Elizabeth II, Dr Gavin Ashenden? Thank you very much indeed, Gavin, for coming on. Are Christians being forgotten in this country? I am taken aback by the fact that the royal family would take to their Twitter feed, which is watched by millions of people, to celebrate the holiday of Ramadan, but no mention of Lent, no mention of Shrove Tuesday, no mention of Ash Wednesday, nothing.
Yes, it's all very odd and it's not easy to understand because, as you quite rightly said, it's the right and courteous thing to do to wish Muslims well on what is for them a very important feast day. Why would we not want to be courteous and generous and supportive to people quite rightly pursuing their own religious devotions? But it's as well as two-tier policing, we appear to be having two-tier religion in this country because, as you say, there's complete silence for the Christians who still make up nearly 50% of the country.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop star to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Now, the Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has opened a new jail that holds 1,500 prisoners.
Yes, Category C prison HMP Millsyke, which is the size of 39 football pitches, is the latest step towards the government's target to create 14,000 extra prison places by 2031.
Let's talk to retired prison governor Vanessa Frake. Always good to see you, Vanessa. Well, I guess it's a step in the right direction.
Well, yes, it is, and I'm sure Labour will take full responsibility. But actually, it was started by the Tory party, so yeah. I mean, it is a good step in the right direction. It's 1,500 places, but it will take some time to get to capacity. You know, new prisons take time to bed in, staff take time, and prisoners. So they'll be drip fed through till it reaches its capacity.
Yeah, if you know, we are on target for these 14,000 new places by 2031. It's not far off.
No, it's not, and I would be very surprised if they make that 14,000 by 2031. I think it's the rate that the prison population is growing. I think we'll still run out of spaces before that time.
We deal with this shortage of prison places. I mean, what would you do if you were in charge? I mean, we can build more prisons, but it's going to, as we say, it's going to take years.
Well, I think what would I do? Well, I'm not sure anybody can get ourselves out of this. It's so far-reaching right across the board. It's so complicated with the prison system. I mean, the sentencing review by David Gauke certainly will be controversial when that's published later on in this year. And I think he's got some very controversial ideas about sentencing, about scrapping shorter sentences, about releasing long-term prisoners earlier, i.e. they have to work their way out of jail. And I think, you know, that's going to cause some real eyebrow raising by the general public, I think.
OK, Vanessa, good to see you this morning. Thank you. Keep an eye on all that, of course. Now, here's something we've been talking about it all morning. The Good Wash Company. Fancy soaps. Fancy. Anyway, this is a nice packet of soap. There you go. And it's got a very simple instruction on it. Wash. Until you turn it over. And then it says eat. So, and you say, what a weird thing to have edible soap, but it's all to highlight the fact that apparently millions of people are having to choose between food and hygiene products. And we've got a, oh, it feels like soap, and it looks like soap.
Does it smell like food or soap? Oh, wow, we're going straight in. I'll read the ingredients to you, shall I? The ingredients say organic cacao butter, oat flour, avocado oil, tomato sauce, toast flavouring, bean flavouring, paprika, sea salt and celery.
Can't say I'd recommend it, but it is edible.
Like?
Have a nibble.
Does it taste like breakfast?
No. But anyway, this is all to highlight this problem there is with hygiene poverty. And the CEO of the Hygiene Bank is Ruth Brock. And she joins us now. Good to see you this morning. It's not the most delicious thing I've ever eaten.
It does taste like soap.
But it is there to get us talking about what is a very real problem.
That's right. It's not really a product, it's a protest. We have been delighted to work with the Good Wash to develop this product, to start conversations exactly like this, to talk about, and I see you sort of making a face there, because it doesn't taste good.
It doesn't taste good.
What I think is really horrible is that 4.2 million people in this country are living in hygiene poverty. That means they are having to daily make a choice between putting food on the table for themselves and their family, paying the rent, paying their bills, and buying the basic everyday essentials we all rely on. Like, I've come to the studio this morning and I've used deodorant, I've showered, I've washed my hair, I've done all of those things that we all rely on to go about our days feeling clean and professional. And yet we're talking about a basic essential item, soap, which is charged VAT when lobster and works of art aren't. That doesn't make sense to me.
And there must be such a stigma attached to, well, there is, we know that, to hygiene as well, because this isn't talked about. I mean, we're talking here this morning, 1 in 12 British people have to make a decision between eating and washing, but we never hear about that, do we? It's not spoken about.
You're absolutely right. We have, scarily normalised the conversation about food poverty and fuel poverty in this country. But you're right. The people living in hygiene poverty tell us about the stigma, the shame, the embarrassment they feel, how they feel they're failing as parents because they have to choose between products for themselves and their children. And what my charity, the Hygiene Bank, wants to do is to take one step on that road to ending hygiene poverty by abolishing VAT on soap, treating it as the basic staple that we all need every day. It's the first line of defence against illness and disease. It helps to keep us all safe.
And I guess part of the problem is if people... It's a confidence thing as well, isn't it? If people are really struggling, that can affect your confidence and mental health and all the rest of it. But if you also know there's even the slight possibility of not smelling fresh, for example, but I mean that can totally destroy you in a workplace.
Completely, and we hear every day about children who are bullied in school or who are not going to school because their uniform isn't clean or they feel stinky. They're being bullied by their peers. We know that 13% of people living in hygiene poverty have avoided work for exactly that reason. 9% of people have avoided going to a job interview, and that's so wrong because it is trapping you in your difficulties. Hygiene poverty is limiting life chances, it's blocking opportunities, it's stopping people find a way out of the hard times they find themselves in. And the thing that I always remind myself is that we're all actually only one step away from this. We all have a sibling or a friend or a parent who has suffered a bereavement, who has lost their job, who has got a serious illness or been in an accident. Any one of those everyday things that could happen to any one of us can push us into hygiene poverty.
How do we fix this, Ruth?
We need systemic solutions. The first thing is my charity isn't waiting. I have 600 brilliant volunteers across the country who are running 170 projects, and they are collecting and sorting and distributing these basics, the soap, the shampoo, the deodorant that everybody needs through food banks and schools and refuges and shelters. So they aren't waiting for the government to step up, they're taking that action themselves. The first step is this campaign that we're running today to remove VAT on soap, because that little change, which might mean just 20 or 40 quid a year for the average family, well, that's the difference between 2 winter coats for your kids or not. That's the difference between Easter eggs for your family or not.
And look, and that seems like the most sensible option, right? But we're being told we haven't got any money. And so, realistically, Do you stand any chance of getting that?
Well, that's why I'd sort of ask your viewers to get behind our petition, because if we can get 10,000 signatures, then the government has to respond to us on this. Now, the Chancellor's promised £1 billion for helping people get back into work. Removing VAT on soap will cost £19.5 million. I think that if people can go to job interviews feeling that little bit more confident, as you said, clean and fresh and professional, that might give them a chance of getting out of their difficulties themselves. We spent 53 million on a garden bridge that never came to fruition, 60 million on smart motorways. I feel like removing VAT on soap is a doable first step action to get everyone the basic essentials they need.
Yeah, OK. Ruth, really good to talk to you this morning.
Thank you
very much indeed. It's a really valid... And it's fascinating to talk about something which most of us aren't aware of.
And hadn't considered, no.
No, I hadn't even thought about it.
If you want to sign that petition, Ruth, where can they do that?
So you can head to my charity's website, that's thehygienebank.com. You can sign that petition, but you can also become one of my brilliant volunteers and donate to help us on this journey.
Oh, there you go.
And as part of that, you do not have to eat this soap.
You do not.
Have no fear.
Yes.
It's not very tasty.
No.
But it is edible.
It does taste like soap.
Well, it'll clean you, though. It'll clean you.
Well, yes. Soap doesn't catch on.
I tell you what, Nick, when I'm having a shower tonight, I shall be thinking about how lucky I am, actually, that I don't even think about it.
Really makes you think, doesn't it? Change your perspective on things, how lucky we are to be able to shower and not even
think about it.
Now, if you're travelling to work or school this morning, here is your traffic and travel update.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Orkney ferry sailings between Pirrawall and Papa Westray are suspended because of poor weather conditions. In Essex, the A120 is closed westbound by Stansted Airport after an accident causing queues from Great Dunmow towards the M11. Also in Essex, on the A12, the outside lanes closed southbound when it's an accident between junctions 23 and 22 between Colchester and Chelmsford, causing roughly 4 miles of queues. The M4 near Bristol is partly blocked eastbound by an accident between junctions 20 and 19 from the M5 to the M32, and the M27 in Hampshire is partly blocked westbound by an accident between junctions 7 and 5 near Southampton.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Now, do stay with us. These are live pictures coming out of Thailand after a 7.7 magnitude earthquake hit Myanmar in the early hours of this morning, our time. It is affecting neighbouring countries, including Thailand. We can see there buildings have collapsed. Numbers of residents have been escaping their homes this morning. We'll bring you more after this.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Paul Coyte's got all the sport for us this morning at 8:37. Good morning, good morning.
Soap stuck in my teeth.
Yeah,
oh, you've just been trying the soap.
Am I lathering up around the lips?
Yeah.
Chelsea 3, Manchester, please bear with me. Chelsea 3, Manchester City 0, Champions League, so this is the Women's Champions League. Comeback from them, so basically means the semi-final is now going to be Arsenal versus Lyon and Chelsea versus Barcelona, which I'm sure you guessed means there's a very strong possibility of an all-English final.
Yeah, it's exactly
good.
what I thought, actually.
Which would be good if that happens. What do you think about the whole Liam Lawson thing, then? How do you feel about Liam Lawson?
Well,
this is the young driver dropped by Red Bull after 2 races, and it was dropped yesterday.
Well, it's very weird. I think the whole thing's weird, but the fact that there's been these accusations of bullying...
Yes.
I'm not surprised.
Well, Max Verstappen, who's the world champion, there's Liam Lawson. So Max Verstappen liked an Instagram post by a former Dutch driver by the name of Guido van der Gaard. And he wrote this. He put closer to bullying or panic move than actual high athlete achievements, referring to Christian Horner and the fact that Liam Lawson has been dropped. So he's got the, he's got the dream gig. He's finally got to be a driver for Red Bull F1, and then after 2 races, because they've not gone so well, he's been dropped. I mean, that is ruthless, isn't it? It really
I
is.
think Christian Horner could well end up being sat in a corner.
Do you think so? Eating his curtain way? Do you think so?
I do, because if Verstappen is going the other way, I think it's the beginning of the end.
You know what? It's not working out over at Red Bull, and the chances that they're going to win the titles this year, I think, is very unlikely. Something ain't... It just smells of panic at the moment. It just does.
I think Mercedes should snap Lawson up.
I think they could snap him.
Snap him.
I think they could do.
I think they should.
And I thought also the car. They're saying there's problems with the car. It's difficult for him to drive. There's so many other factors involved in this, and I think it's going to play out in a very interesting fashion.
Should we look at the matches this weekend?
Yeah, we can give those quick mention. That's in the FA Cup. Fulham and Crystal Palace, Brighton against Nottingham Forest, Preston against Villa, and Bournemouth against Man City. Mine and Clive Allen's predictions. You can have a look at that on the website, gbnews.com, if you like.
I look forward to that. I love hearing what Clive Allen has to say.
He's
the man who knows.
He is, and we always have a lot of fun as well, so you can see that. Finally, I want to mention Kylian Mbappe. Now,
yes.
Kylian Mbappe, who could have landed himself in hot water, may not play against Arsenal because of gesticulations he was making when Real Madrid got through to the next round of the Champions League. I don't need to go into them, do I?
No.
I don't need to act them out or anything?
No, please don't.
OK, that's good.
Sausages.
Kylian Mbappe, he's had his waxwork unveiled at Madame Tussauds. Have a look at this. There we are.
Incredible.
It really
so
is
realistic.
Good, I mean,
if they stood still, you wouldn't know which was which.
You wouldn't. Thing is, Mbappe never stands still. He's so fast, and he's looking at it. And he actually can't believe what he's seeing.
He's delighted with it, I think.
They get better each year, don't they?
Yeah,
remember,
very good.
Remember in the old days, they always used to be a little bit ropey.
Well, some have been a bit ropey in the past, but, you know, I think people try their hardest. We should applaud everyone who does a waxwork.
I think so. But what about... I'm going to show you some from the past and see if you can tell me who you think these are. That is... Well, it's supposed to be... I think it's the famous old Great Yarmouth Tussauds museum. I think it closed a few years ago. I wonder why. But anyway, that's a very bad waxwork. And for those listening on radio, I couldn't even describe it because it doesn't look anything like the person it's supposed to be.
It's a very squishy face with long black hair.
Yes.
Who is it meant to be?
It's George Best is who it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be George Best.
It looks nothing like George Best.
No, it really doesn't. Let's go with another one. There's another one coming up here. Now that you can kind of see possibly who that is if we look at a 70s footballer.
That's worse, I think.
Known for the black curly hair, the perm.
Is it Keegan?
It is Keegan. Very good.
I mean, it's literally the very bad wig.
It is.
But the face looks nothing like Kevin.
No. And we've got another one here, and who is... It looks like Basil Fawlty in a cricket jumper. So there's...
I can only imagine because it's got a moustache. Is it meant to be Botham?
It is supposed to be Ian Botham.
Oh, you're quite good at that.
Yeah, but it just doesn't look like him.
You can see who and why, but it really is not great, is it? I don't think Kylian Mbappe's would be anything to do with those. But anyway, aren't they? We got one more.
Looks more like...
You'll never guess who that's supposed to be.
Go on, who's that?
Never guess.
I don't know.
It's supposed to be Lord Sebastian Coe.
I
can't see any resemblance at all.
Insult.
There we are.
Oh, poor Sebastian.
Or is that supposed to be Kylian Mbappe? He looks more like Kylian Mbappe than Sebastian Coe, to be honest.
Oh, dear me. Good. Right, Paul, thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going through the papers next, so do stay with us. But first, if you're in search of some winter sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Unsettled weather across central parts of the Mediterranean with heavy showers and possibly some thunderstorms. But after all the rain across Spain and Portugal, turning much drier here, and with plenty of prolonged blue skies too as the Azores highs stretches across Spain and Portugal. But as we move our way further east, heavy showers, some longer outbreaks of rain, and this could turn heavy with some hail and thunder. Now into next week, it's turning a little bit brighter, more sunshine around, and feeling a little bit warmer too, with the best of the temperatures across Tenerife.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
We'll keep you up to date with the situation following that earthquake in Myanmar, which has affected not only Myanmar but also Thailand as well. This is Bangkok. 7.7 magnitude quake, apparently. We think 40 people could still be stuck in this building, so there's clearly been a lot of damage. We'll keep you fully up to date with what we find out in the coming minutes.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
SpaceX latest Starship exploded over the Caribbean Sea.
I was wondering where it'd gone.
Yeah, debris could be seen falling back to Earth moments after the Starship launched down from Boca Chica, Texas. The rocket, of course, was unmanned. This was the 8th test flight, and it was only meant to be in the air for an hour. But, importantly, the booster for this rocket was caught with those Mechazilla chopsticks in an impressive display, the third time that's happened.
Those Mechazilla chopsticks? This is Elon Musk's spaceship, isn't it?
Tell.
Starship, sorry.
Yeah.
Planetary scientist Andy Lound could tell us more about this. Andy, so was this a disaster or is this just a little obstacle to success?
Yeah, good morning. Par for the course, really. This is what kind of good afternoon. Par for the course as these things go on. The whole point of the tests, he's going to do 25 tests this year alone. And the interesting thing about this is you actually see the staging of it, where you've got the first stage, the booster, and then the second section, which is the ginormous rocket, which actually lifts off. The first stage, they seem to have got that cinched now, how it works quite well, coming back and landing in the chopsticks, absolutely breathtaking. The second stage, the Starship, was actually the new version of it, which they're testing out completely. And unfortunately, the first testing, the last test failed, and that was due to, it looks like, some frequency issues, which caused a frequency to go too high, which caused damage to the piping, which led to a fuel leak and a fire, which led to destruction. They made a lot of modifications, which led to test 8. And unfortunately, though, it has failed again. So they need to have a look at exactly what the issues are which are causing these failures.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Time for the papers. Nigel Nelson and Claire Pearce at 8:47. Morning, you two. Nigel, did you ever look at the Telegraph online, looking at military chiefs heading to Ukraine?
Yeah, I mean, it's all part of Keir Starmer's coalition of the willing. Whether it'll ever happen, we'll have to see. But the idea is to try and at least get ourselves prepared if we can send a peacekeeping force into Ukraine. So at the moment, he's got European countries on board, apart from Italy, and Australia, New Zealand, Canada's quite interested in doing it. The question, obviously, is we are preempting things. There has to be some kind of peace settlement.
And Putin's all saying that even if there was a peace settlement, he wouldn't let anybody in.
Accept it. I mean, there is a major problem of having NATO troops sitting in Ukraine, right on Putin's border. So it really depends where this peace deal goes. And we still don't have the guarantee from America that they'll put air power up to make sure our forces are protected. So without that backstop, this is a non-goer. But at the moment, it's just, at the moment, I think it's just you're prepared for it if it happens. But I would say we're, at most 50-50, it ever will happen.
I think it's really difficult for the UK, given that we've run down our armed forces so much. How many personnel do we have to send over? I think people are very wary about putting boots on the ground.
Much. 10,000 has been estimated. We could only do about
exactly. And when you're looking at the amount of border we're talking about, I mean, it's just a puny amount. But I think people will be very, very concerned at boots on the ground, leading us into what looks like World War III, and then you get the question of how many troops do we need? Are you looking at conscription and all those kind of conversations, which are really uncomfortable to have, especially when this is supposed to be peacetime.
Yeah. In The Guardian, Claire, nothing worse than a civil servant scorned.
Yes, indeed. So this is the newly ennobled Sue Gray, who did her maiden speech in the House of Lords and had a real kick at Sir Keir Starmer, the person that indeed put her in the House of Lords, by suggesting that his language around civil service cuts was less than to be desired. Now, I sort of see her point. The civil service, you need to work for the government of the day. If you're going to say that they are the blob and they are inefficient and they're awful, you can see that's going to have an impact on the amount of work they're willing to do. Unless, I think that there is a point to be had about it, but also the amount of money that's going to have to go into getting rid of civil servants is enormous. And how much is it actually going to save? We need to have a much more efficient, streamlined civil service, no doubt about it. But unfortunately, I think this is going to cost an awful lot of money.
Yeah, but in the long term, it's got to be a long-term plan.
Only if you can make it efficient. There's no point cutting it and throwing money at that particular problem if you're not going to make it any better.
What do you make of it, Nigel?
Well, I mean, I think that Keir Starmer's comment about that the civil service were living in a comfortable, tepid bath of managed decline was a real misstep. That you don't insult the people who are working for you, who are carrying out your policy.
Be nice about them and then just sack them on the QT.
Well, I don't think. I mean, if you want to trim the civil service, I get Claire's point. Trim it down, provided you can actually deliver public services as well. If you can't get your passports for months, as we used to have,
yes, but we've increased the number of the civil service by 100,000 in the last
That's right.
few
I mean,
years.
so there obviously is room to actually trim it back, but I don't think you have to be rude about them. And these are the people who will be delivering the policies the politicians set down.
And private companies manage this on a fairly frequent basis. They will get rid of people that they don't feel necessary to the business, and they won't make such a song and dance about it.
Well, I'm glad Sue Gray, for £400 a day tax-free, being in the House of Lords, has made a point.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Nigel, you'd like to talk about phones before bed. This is in the Mirror today.
Indeed, it's a story about some research on if you have your phone and tablet in bed, you're 33% more likely to have disturbed sleep, and you'll also sleep 48 minutes later over a period of a week than people who don't do that. This is research by...
But didn't we know this already?
I think we did, yeah, but we've only just started doing it. Over the last week or so, we've started now deliberately putting the phone aside, rather than sitting there before going to sleep, either playing games or scrolling through emails, actually put it aside. In fact, Claire sort of nagged me last night.
So what do you do instead?
Read a book.
We read a book, yeah.
An actual book?
An actual book, an actual real paper book, yeah.
And do you feel as though that has positively impacted your sleep?
Yes.
In the past week?
Actually, seriously, no question about it, yeah.
You see, no, what you should be
Give it a go.
doing, apparently, is what you've started doing, and that's taping your mouth shut.
Yes. That's
When
the
you
new
go to
thing.
bed.
Mouth taping.
Mouth taping.
Yeah, I really recommend, actually.
What sort of tape do you
So
put over
special
it?
tape, it's like, you know, like muscle tape that you put on an injury?
Yeah.
So it's like that, not like, you know...
Like duct tape.
Not like duct tape. And then you stick it on your mouth, and then it makes you breathe through your nose, and you go into a deeper sleep, apparently.
And does that stop you snoring and things?
Yes, yes, it's got lots of benefits.
You presumably...
Maybe try that next. But I've noticed my sleep is definitely deeper.
OK.
I'll be taping you up later.
Thank you.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah. It's a thing to try. A quick look at takeaways. Should we in the Express, Claire?
This is quite a frightening statistic. So apparently indulging in your Friday night takeaways sets the average person back £60 a month. So over a lifetime, it adds up to £51,035. Just your Friday night takeaway. I don't want
Friday
it.
night takeaway?
Oh, we get a takeaway every Friday.
Do you?
See, a lot of
And
people
it's a bad
do.
habit. I get a bit worried about it because I can see it adding up every week.
It's really frightening when you start to look at it like that. I mean, we don't have takeaways on a regular basis, but you notice the cost of them, but you kind of think, oh, I don't have to cook and I don't have to wash up, so therefore it's worth spending out. But £51,000 over a lifetime is an expensive curry.
It's a lot of money on pizza. Pizza, there's got to be pizza. All right, you two, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed.
Here's the weather.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Into the weekend, there is going to be some rain at times, particularly on Saturday, feeling a little bit cooler too, but brighter and warmer by the time we reach Mother's Day on Sunday. Back to today, though, it's going to be quite a cloudy and wet start across parts of the southeast. Some rain lingering here for a time, but eventually clearing from around mid-morning and turning brighter behind this, but it's not going to be completely dry. Plenty of blustery showers moving their way into Scotland, Northern Ireland and northwestern parts of England, and at times skirting their way into central and southern parts too. Not going to be feeling quite as warm, but highs still reaching around 14 degrees across parts of the southeast. Then to finish off the day across Scotland, there's still going to be plenty of those showers moving through, heavy at times, perhaps some hail and thunder, and even bringing in some snow, particularly across the Scottish Highlands. So quite a wet end to the day and very breezy, particularly around western coasts. Fairly similar across Northern Ireland. Northwestern parts of England still could see a few showers moving through, but most showers across Wales, central and southern parts should largely die away as we see a ridge of high pressure begin to build into the evening. Now, as that high pressure builds, that should kill off most of the showers across the country, and it leads to clear skies, so things are going to turn a bit chillier, perhaps some rural slight frost in places, and maybe even some mist and fog patches too. But there's still going to be quite a few showers feeding in across Shetland and Orkney and across western parts of Scotland. But for many, it's a largely dry night and feeling slightly chillier too. Now, through the course of the morning, if we do see any mist and fog, that should ease away fairly quickly, leading to a much brighter morning, particularly across central and southeastern parts. But across the west parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, seeing quite a wet morning as another band of rain moves through. This could be quite heavy at times, and then starting to move into northern parts of England, Wales and Devon and Cornwall by the afternoon as well. And still very blustery across northern areas with some heavy showers, and still on the cool side, highs once again only reaching around 14 degrees Celsius.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Orkney ferry sailings between Pirrawall and Papa Westray are cancelled because of poor weather conditions. There are delays of up to half an hour to trains between Leeds and both York and Selby after overnight engineering works overran. In Essex, the A120 is closed westbound by Stansted Airport after an accident causing queues towards the M11 from Great Dunmow. Also in Essex on the A12, there's a lane closed southbound after an accident between junctions 23 and 22 between Kelvedon and Whittam, causing delays heading away from Colchester towards Chelmsford. And the M4 near Bristol is blocked eastbound by an accident at junction 19 for the M32, causing queues. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's the final week to see how you could spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but two sought-after designer watches. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Good morning. A health scare for the King.
He's recovering today at Clarence House after a brief return to hospital following an adverse reaction to cancer treatment.
Well, the palace says it was a precautionary measure. It's described the episode as a minor bump in the road.
All 4 of His Majesty's engagements in Birmingham today have been postponed, but palace officials are hopeful the state visit to Italy can go ahead. More details shortly.
A state of emergency has been declared in Thailand as Myanmar is rattled by a 7.7 magnitude earthquake, causing tremors, evacuations and destruction.
Well, it's hard to get an idea of what's happening in the military-controlled country of Myanmar, but in neighbouring Thailand, we're already getting reports of collapsed buildings and workers trapped.
The Prime Minister has co-hosted another Coalition of the Willing summit, this time in Paris, with plans for a reassurance force in Ukraine announced.
And we agreed here in Paris today that it's clear the Russians are filibustering. They are playing games and they're playing for time. It is a classic.
Hello, good morning. Quite a wet start across the southeast, but brightening up later. Plenty of showers in the north, though, and maybe even a risk of snow. Stay tuned and I'll have all the details.
Just gone 9 o'clock, I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
We've got a lot to get through, actually, in the next 25 minutes, so let's crack on with the news that the King has been in hospital. He had an adverse reaction to some cancer treatment, apparently.
Well, he's now been discharged, thankfully, but his engagements today in Birmingham have been cancelled.
Well, the palace released a statement saying that following scheduled and ongoing medical treatment for cancer, the King experienced temporary side effects that required a short period of observation in hospital. He's returned to Clarence House and acting on medical advice. His plans for today are going to be rescheduled.
Well, joining us now is GB News royal correspondent Cameron Walker. And how worried should we be about this news, do you think, Cameron?
Well, I think it's certainly a wake-up call. Of course, I think it's easy to forget sometimes that the King still has a weekly cycle of cancer treatment because he has a full programme of public engagements. He does a lot every single day. Of course, he did the big tour to Australia and Samoa last year as well. But of course, doctors did deem the situation serious enough for His Majesty to end up in hospital yesterday for observation. And of course, it's good that he is back now at home in Clarence House, but clearly that was a little bit of a wake-up call. Doctors saying for precautionary reasons the King ended up in hospital. And then, of course, he got a state visit next week to Italy. So I suspect part of the thinking was we need to make sure he is well enough to travel to Italy alongside Her Majesty the Queen. In terms of should we be really worried and alarmed, I suggest not. I was with the Prince of Wales yesterday in Aberdeen covering his engagements there. He didn't seem particularly worried. There was no indication then that the King had ended up in hospital, even though he has been. The Queen didn't accompany him to hospital, and the establishment he was at was the London Clinic yesterday afternoon, a world leader in cancer care, of course, a private hospital. It's where he underwent the procedure for the enlarged prostate. But that means he travelled by car rather than by emergency ambulance. He also did not end up in an A&E department, suggesting this was not an emergency. Royal sources are indicating that this is just a bump in the road on his road to recovery, but clearly it was, deemed serious enough, as I said, to end up in hospital briefly.
OK. Cameron, thank you very much indeed. I know you're going to keep us up to date throughout the course of the day here on GB News. Now, the Prime Minister's been co-hosting this summit in Paris, another meeting of the Coalition of the Willing. Is it going to get us anywhere, though? Political strategist Peter Barnes is here. Good morning.
Good morning.
To you. It's all well and good saying, oh, yes, reassurance forces, we can do it. Putin doesn't want one. The Prime Minister seems to say we can't really do anything without Trump involved anyway, which he doesn't want to do. I mean, is it all talk but no action?
Well, that just seems to be Keir Starmer through and through, really, doesn't it? All talk, no action, and a nice haircut and a donated suit. The fundamental reality is that this coalition is there for Europe to pretend to be involved. It's somewhat of the child's table while the Americans deal with Russia and where the big boys get involved. It's rather quite embarrassing, I think, at times to listen to Keir Starmer, the way that he's talking and he's walking and he's acting as though he's some kind of the next Winston Churchill. It's rather it's quite sad to watch in some regards. But well, there's 30 nations involved now. NATO, I've got its representatives there, and it has the EU. There's 200 planners are flying out to Kyiv now to help organise all of this stuff. And Britain does actually lead the way in its kind of military planning. It's one of the great things that we do, particularly with our role in NATO as well. But, you know, like we said, without the Americans, without Trump, this is completely and utterly meaningless in terms of it being any kind of establishment to put up against Putin, because let's be real, Putin is one of the best operators we've seen in a very long time in terms of global politics. He knows the strings to pull, and he's been planning this for a very long time. You know, this is the thing, that people just think this was done on a whim. It wasn't, and, you know, as much as Trump likes to talk a good game about being able to handle him and having a good relationship, all of this is Putin's circus, and he's very much the ringmaster.
And there does seem to be this widening gap, doesn't there, between the European approach to Putin and President Trump's approach to Putin. So Keir Starmer was speaking yesterday, talking about going further and faster with sanctions. And then you've got Trump saying, you know, you can keep the lands that you've seized, potentially.
Yeah, I think this is a kind of carrot and stick, but I do think it's a matter of kind of realpolitik versus ideological bluster in terms of Trump is kind of living in the real world. He's dealing with Putin as though he's a businessman. He's dealing with him in a kind of not necessarily a tough man way, but in a kind of very real and kind of upfront a situation compared to Keir Starmer, who's talking a good game. You know, he's dealing with these kind of grandiose themes and coming at it ideologically rather than actually living in the real world and saying, this is the reality, that, you know, that Europe is not a player. This is about America and it's about Russia. And unfortunately, Ukraine is going to be somewhat of the toy that they play with. But the fundamental reality is, without the Americans, this again means nothing. But they can't even agree amongst themselves. It calls themselves a coalition of the willing. It seems to be the bordering on the coalition of chaos 2.0, because they don't even all agree on what they want to do themselves. You know, again, it's all talk. There's no real plans. There's no real kind of details coming out of these summits. This is the third one we've had now. You know, it just seems to me that Keir Starmer rather likes going to these summits and looking like the next wartime leader. But
at least they're showing they do something. In the meantime, we've got Trump, where everything seems to be hinged on. Forget a moral compass in all of this. Everything is hinged on the money. Are we going to get £500 billion of mineral rights and all the rest of it?
Oh, I've been saying since day one, since this kind of mineral deal came onto the table, that's what this was all about. You know, this had nothing really to do with freedom and liberty and defending allies and all the rest of it. This is a kind of brass tacks kind of guy, and this is what it is. Let's be real, though. Securing these mineral rights is very, very important. The West has been failing on its kind of access to kind of the rare earth metals that we need to build the batteries of the phones and the cars that we're going to need in the future. This has been dominated by China, and I think Trump sees this opportunity as a way for America to get in the game on this. And Europe really should be backing him on this, because I don't really think that Xi Jinping is going to be very willing to give a fair terms of access to European partners to the things that we need to kind of live in the future.
Well, maybe we should be fighting for it ourselves.
Well, we should have been doing that about 10 years ago, but again, we've been decided, you know, what is a woman rather than doing anything that really matters.
Peter Barnes, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much. Now, it's your final week to see how you could win our massive spring giveaway and grab a designer handbag, designer watches and an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Here's how it could all be yours.
It's the final week to see how you could spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but two sought-after designer watches, so you can style it out this spring. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, these are live pictures coming out of Thailand after a 7.7 magnitude earthquake hit Myanmar in the early hours of this morning, our time. Mark White will be with us in a few moments, bringing us up to speed with everything that we know on this developing story.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Now, it's 13 minutes past 9 and a state of emergency has been declared in Myanmar after a magnitude 7.7 earthquake hit the area.
Well, buildings have collapsed and residents and workers are evacuating from offices and homes in neighbouring Thailand. Reuters news agency are now reporting that at least 3 people have died following the collapse of a mosque in Myanmar as well.
Thai media also reporting 43 workers trapped in a skyscraper there. Mark White is here, our Home and Security editor. I mean, clearly, this is epicentre, it looks like, in Myanmar, but affecting quite a lot of Thailand as well.
Yeah, you're looking at live scenes at the moment of the scene of that construction site tower block collapse. We're hearing that at least 40 workers have been trapped underneath the rubble. There are some images of people, injured construction workers, being ferried from the site. Ironically, many of the workers there that have been trapped are probably from Myanmar, because many of the sort of the construction, the labour jobs that are done in Thailand are often by Myanmar migrants that come across to do that. As for the situation in Myanmar itself, there's little in the way of information coming out, because you'll remember that there is a military government in Myanmar that took over after a coup in 2021. They've shut down large parts of the internet there. So the kind of video getting out is difficult. This is some that has got out, though, showing the main airport in Mandalay. And you can see parts of the ceiling that have collapsed down, dust everywhere, with people understandably panicked, running to get out of that terminal building in Mandalay.
OK, Mark, we're going to come back to you in just a couple of minutes. We're just going to take a short break away, though, because we need to get some word from the government this morning, because the Prime Minister has pledged that Northern England will no longer be held ransom by a poor transport system.
Yes, Keir Starmer today will pledge to create better links between urban areas in the north.
Treasury Minister James Murray, as you can see, is standing by. Very good to see you this morning. I mean, this is what HS2 was meant to be doing, wasn't it? Increase cross-northern transport links?
Well, this investment is about making sure that people and businesses across the north have the transport infrastructure that they need and deserve, because we know they've been let down for far too long by Victorian-era infrastructure, and which is why we're announcing this extra investment in things like the Trans-Pennine route upgrade, as well as local buses, trams and roads, so that people can get around. Now, this is all part of our plan for change, because it's about making sure people can get around, get to work, get to the doctors and so on, but also that businesses have that confidence that the investment in transport infrastructure is there, so that businesses will then invest and help to grow the economy to put more money in people's pockets.
How long will this take, and where is the money coming from?
Well, I'll give you an example. So the Trans-Pennine route upgrade will deliver in the 2030s, but we don't want people to wait until the 2030s to start feeling the benefit of it. And that's why we've brought forward £450 million of additional money, which will help to improve that quicker. It will accelerate the improvements in the Trans-Pennine route upgrade. We'll have more electrification of the route next year. And it will mean that people who use that route, which goes Manchester, Huddersfield, Leeds, York, will see an improvement in the reliability of their service. Because at the moment, too many people are let down, and we want that to change.
Well, as you say, it's important. As a northerner, it's very important that this sort of thing is done. However, if you say you're bringing forward £450 million, got to ask, where from? I didn't think are we borrowing for this?
Well, this is all set out in our fiscal arrangements, because we're really clear that we want to invest more. You know, two of the fiscal rules that the Chancellor has. One is about stability, to make sure that day-to-day spending is paid for through tax receipts, but the other is the investment rule, which says that we need to make sure we're investing in the future of our country. And this is exactly an example of where we need to make that investment to improve life for people, but also to make sure that businesses have the confidence to invest as well and help to grow the economy.
Borrowing to invest.
Well, no, there's very clear rules about borrowing and about how they relate to our public finances, in that we want to get borrowing falling as a proportion of GDP. That's one of the two fiscal rules the Chancellor set out at the October budget last year, and on Wednesday, at the Spring Statement, the Chancellor confirmed that we are still meeting those fiscal rules. So all of this is done within her fiscal rules, which are non-negotiable, but we wanted to make sure that we are able to invest in the future of the country, because that investment is crucial to make life better for people, and also, as I said, to give businesses the confidence to invest and help to power economic growth.
Can I ask you about this promise of 1.5 million new homes by 2030? How achievable do you think that is? How likely is it that you're able to achieve that? And who's going to be prioritised for these new homes?
What we saw in the Spring Statement on Wednesday was the OBR, the independent organisation, saying that our changes to the planning system are the real deal, that they will build hundreds of thousands more homes, 1.3 million new homes over the next 5 years. And obviously that's good in terms of building new homes, but it's also really good for the public finances and the economy, because what the OBR said is that from 2026 onward, for all of the subsequent years of this Parliament, they have increased the growth forecast as a result of the changes that we've made to the planning system. That will increase the size of the economy by 6.8 billion. It will increase the amount coming to public finances by over 3 billion, and it puts the public finances in a stronger position. So, you know, these changes we made to the planning system are good in terms of building the homes we need, but they're also good in terms of the economic growth that will help put more money in people's pockets.
But it was also the OBR, wasn't it? It said there was a 50-50 chance of more tax rises to come from this government, or at least 49% chance of more tax rises.
Well, look, I'm not going to start setting out future budgets here live on air, but what we're really clear about is that tax and spend changes are not the only way to strengthen the public finances. A crucial way to get stronger public finances is through economic growth. As I said, the OBR agreed that the changes we've made to the planning system are having a positive impact in terms of increasing growth, which means that the average person will be £500 better off by the end of this Parliament than they would have been if we hadn't made those changes. And those are the kind of changes we need to make to put our public finances on a secure footing.
Treasury Minister James Murray, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Let's know what you think on that one.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's just we all want to be better off, don't we? We all want growth. So we'll be £500 better off by the end of the Parliament. That's in 2030 or 2029. £500.
In what tangible way are we going to feel that?
It's not a lot.
We've got all the bills going up next month.
It's not a lot of money. Yeah, the bills are going up by about 500 quid next month. I mean, I don't know, it doesn't seem like a very big ambition to be £500 better off by 2029, does it?
No, in 4 years' time.
We shall see. Could all change. Now, Britain's Newsroom heading away at 9:30. Charlie and Nana are here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I noticed you didn't answer who is going to be prioritised by those homes and just went babbling on about all sorts of things. I don't know, 500 quid, honestly, over 5 years. Great. No, but we've got loads for you. Obviously, we're going to keep you updated with the King and his health update. We want to find out how he's getting on. Plus, we've got somebody who... there's an interesting debate we're having about Ozempic and those sort of weight loss kind of drugs, so Mounjaro and all the others. And there's a lady who's written in, I think it's the Mail, that, I'm losing friends because I'm losing weight and all this stuff. And
jealous people.
Well, that's what she thinks, but I think there's a psychological thing going on in her head where she thinks everybody's thinking about us than I am. Everybody, because I've noticed that people on those particular drugs want you to sort of comment on their weight loss.
Well, anyone does, though, if you lose weight. You want people to notice.
Not necessarily, no.
I think most people do.
No, when I tone up, I don't. I try and tone myself up. I don't go, I'm waiting for somebody to tell me how great I am. Charlie, have you noticed? I'm slimmer slightly. You've not said...
I've not said a word.
But you've not got much... You've never had much to lose, have you, at the minute? Well, yes, I know.
As ever is my always...
Charlie, very good.
But for most people who lose weight, you want someone to notice that you've... Because you put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing that debate. We've also got a couple of exclusives we're bringing to Britain's Newsroom.
You've got one. Go on.
Oh, I've got two. Showing off. But one, we've got a new rift in Labour as a former police officer in the party has slammed its stance on a new anti-racism report, describing it as woke overreach. Could be a new possible discussion for the party to get round. And also, we can reveal there's a complaint against a Labour councillor in Stockton. She voted against a national grooming gangs inquiry in January, but there's a conflict of interest concern because it transpires that her son is a paedophile and she may have warned him of his imminent arrest, allowing him to delete some evidence. So we'll be diving into both of those stories in the next couple of hours.
Right.
Wow, it's a busy one.
And what else have you got?
Well, obviously, we want to focus on...
You've got to keep going for another 50 seconds.
This is new. No, we also want to focus on Rachel Reeves, because I did listen to her on a radio station the other day, explaining herself away with the tickets and still not really sounding that apologetic in all reality, and the implications as well of her disaster, I would say, spring statement. There was no spring in the steps of those words. And I want her to think things through and just follow it through from the things that she set in place, and, of course, alongside the workers' rights bill, which I think will be the end for many businesses. But, yeah, so we've got those still to come. Well, you guys look good. Nice matching yellow. I'm jealous of that dress. That's lovely.
Yeah, we didn't get the brief on the matching colours today.
Still time.
We have to brief each other.
I know.
I don't listen anyway, so it wouldn't work.
It would never work.
No, you
guessing game with her.
Yes. Well, listen, Ellie and... I was going to call you Stevie there. That's never mind.
Stevie,
I'll take it.
Yes, we'll see you soon.
You will.
Up next, it's time for us in Britain's Newsroom.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Into the weekend, there is going to be some rain at times, particularly on Saturday, feeling a little bit cooler too, but brighter and warmer by the time we reach Mother's Day on Sunday. Back to today, though, it's going to be quite a cloudy and wet start across parts of the southeast. Some rain lingering here for a time, but eventually clearing from around mid-morning and turning brighter behind this, but it's not going to be completely dry. Plenty of blustery showers moving their way into Scotland, Northern Ireland and northwestern parts of England, and at times skirting their way into central and southern parts too. Not going to be feeling quite as warm, but highs still reaching around 14 degrees across parts of the southeast. Then to finish off the day across Scotland, there's still going to be plenty of those showers moving through, heavy at times, perhaps some hail and thunder, and even bringing in some snow, particularly across the Scottish Highlands. So quite a wet end to the day and very breezy, particularly around western coasts. Fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northwestern parts of England still could see a few showers moving through, but most showers across Wales, central and southern parts should largely die away as we see a ridge of high pressure begin to build into the evening. Now, as that high pressure builds, that should kill off most of the showers across the country, and it leads to clear skies, so things are going to turn a bit chillier, perhaps some rural slight frost in places, and maybe even some mist and fog patches too. But there's still going to be quite a few showers feeding in across Shetland and Orkney and across western parts of Scotland. But for many, it's a largely dry night and feeling slightly chillier too. Now, through the course of the morning, if we do see any mist and fog, that should ease away fairly quickly, leading to a much brighter morning, particularly across central and southeastern parts. But across the west, parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, seeing quite a wet morning as another band of rain moves through. This could be quite heavy at times, and then starting to move into northern parts of England, Wales and Devon and Cornwall by the afternoon as well. And still very blustery across northern areas with some heavy showers, and still on the cool side, highs once again only reaching around 14 degrees Celsius.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. All the ferry sailings are cancelled between Pyrrhawall and Papa Westray because of poor weather conditions. In Essex, the A120 is closed westbound at the Stansted Airport turn after an accident causing delays heading away from Great Dunmow towards the M11. In London, the A212 is closed in both directions along Whitehorse Road in Thornton Heath after an accident with queues back into Croydon. And the M27 in Hampshire is partly blocked westbound by an accident between junctions 7 and 5 near Southampton with delays from junction 8. And 2 lanes are closed westbound between junctions 5 and 4 towards the M3 after an accident causing delays. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
High street retailers have been unveiling their new collections with the arrival of the warmer weather, with critics warning that British staple M&S faces a stampede due to the popularity of their new ranges. Well, joining us now is fashion and upcycling consultant Tendai Marewa.
This spring we're going a little bit less bold prints, but we're focusing more on textures and embroidery and more brighter colours. The reds are in, the blues. And the minis are back in.
Oh, gosh, we're all going to have to get our pins out, Adam. Oh, dear.
Are we?
So M&S,
yeah.
Marks & Spencer, they seem to be doing very well.
Yeah. I think what they've managed to do is to get the young audience as well. We see it on TikTok. They've got a trend with their jackets. Everybody's